deadly weapon. So the question
Shooting,
is going to be,
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
did the officer reasonably believe
Again,
that
this time
this
it was
vehicle
a
constituted
fatal shooting
an
from
immediate
ICE.
threat? These
During
situations
Christmas,
are
you
not
had that
uncommon.
YouTuber who was
The officer, regardless of whether
trying
the
to
driver
create
was
content
driving,
on the Somali
trying to turn to the
residents.
officer's
So
left
now
as
there
it
is
appears,
a
it's going to be
casualty.
analyzed. How quickly
Let's
did this
listen.
occur? Again, viewing the videos from the angles that were taken, it does appear that the officer was in imminent danger.
Oh, he was not in imminent
we're talking
danger.
about split seconds here. So
Oh yeah, they lying.
ultimately, will be settled by what was the officer's reasonable belief regarding
Hey, Money.
whether or not his life or the life of others
Monty
was
Trucking.
in imminent danger.
Money Man.
So it'll be dissected, trifected, sliced and diced.
They finna make excuses. If
Does it ultimately
indeed,
depend on what the officer believes as the final say, or does the evidence and the video can it trump what the officer feels like? What I'm asking is, I believe in the video the officer is.
He could have let her go on by.
Mirror, right, when the shot's fired, maybe a little bit in front of that, sort of by the tire, but not in the fender when the shots are fired. I could be wrong, but that's what I saw in my couple of glances at the video. So if the officer is in fact out of harm's way, even in 0.1 second out of harm's way, and the car is moving past the officer when the shot is fired, if the officer still felt like his or her life was in danger, would that qualify a correct use of force? Am I clear with that?
Yes, I think I understand what you're asking.
You understand?
From my angle, it appears that the firing officer was just feet away, directly in the path of the vehicle as it suddenly accelerated. The shots were, from what I understand, fired through the windshield.
They done killed this woman.
Sideways shot, like did the
maybe a Somali woman. You know they already had an attack. Trump already had an attack on them. Told them we didn't want you here. That's what he told them people in Minnesota.
Before the vehicle started moving towards the right.
The officer may have been hit as well by the vehicle, actually. The officer may have actually
May.
Exactly, but we can't tell from any of the videos that
he wasn't limping. He didn't hit the ground.
So the
what you mean? He didn't fall.
Will be analyzed to see if it coincides or supports the officer's point of view. It's not uncommon where an officer
bullshit. He didn't limp.
Relay
he did nothing.
And explain why his or her use of force was reasonable, despite the evidence showing otherwise.
He backed up, put his gun back in the holster,
the evidence,
and then went out to the car.
Going to be applied, analyzed by experts, but it's going to be analyzed in conjunction with what the officer's reasonable beliefs were. And that can be supported by witness statements. Well,
the witness is saying that y'all killed her.
Etc.
You fucking killed her.
If I could just interrupt for a second, too. It's important to note that that's one angle, maybe two. There are a couple videos circulating. We do know, as of
how's he injured?
Officers have been required to wear body cameras.
How was that injured? You saw him or her put that gun in the holster and went to the car?
Who may or may not have been in harm's way.
Bullcrap.
You've got a lot of experience in looking at instances like this across the country. Can you give us a couple examples of situations where information that came out initially, may or may not have been proven true? Is there
considered a black area because they're Somalis?
To help shed some light.
And he shot and killed her.
Yes, a good question. There are a number of cases, similar incidents where I have viewed body-worn camera footage, cell phone footage, which are almost identical to the incident at hand, where initially the video evidence would suggest to a ordinary person of reasonable,
This is crazy, y'all.
Reasonable, wisdom, if you want to call it.
Crazy work.
Common sense that the shooting was not justified. However, after further review by experts, breaking the video down, and then conducting the time and motion analysis, and
Hey, Janet.
comparing it with how the officers
Is this the one you're gonna be on today?
Officers who were present explains why the video may not have told the whole story. I guess that's the way to put it, because everyone has to realize that body-worn camera, these videos, whether they're body-worn camera videos or cell phone videos, are only a representation of a two-dimensional, from two-dimensional viewing angles.
Oh, wow.
Dimension, meaning the officer's
Cut this
perceptions,
out.
the eyesight, the senses, feel, touch, etc., the environmental considerations is critical in coordinating, applying that to the body-worn camera video.
Yeah.
So all of that has to come into play, and a lot of that is going to be based on, again, human subjective analysis and perception, which obviously isn't quantifiable, but you can qualitate it,
Right.
to especially based on training and experience.
Well, and the reason I asked that question is because we have
You
two
can
very
almost
distinct
guarantee you
narratives
the
coming
body
out
cam is not
already
working.
on what happened this morning in Minneapolis. One from the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, saying this was clearly justifiable force. This person was using the car as a deadly weapon.
Oh, wow.
And then you have the mayor of Minneapolis saying that that is basically BS, that is not true. He called that
Quote unquote.
exactly. He's using very strong language that basically DHS is lying, and it's very clear what happened here. Any words of wisdom for all of us who are watching, for our elected officials, for our federal and local authorities? To me, this just seems as if everyone is rushing really quickly on both sides of the aisle here.
He shouldn't have been threatening
And again,
the area, and that YouTuber Shirley shouldn't have been going to those daycares messing with them people, staging a situation, staging a problem, looking for one.
Who knows? But that is very common in these situations, whether or not it specifically applies to ICE or if this was even a bank robbery.
They have a quota.
And the shooting occurs. There's always
Immigration
gonna be,
and deportation. He just said that he was going to continue with deportation.
immediately after these incidents, it's just human nature. And especially under these circumstances, given the parties involved and the atmosphere, I get it. I think we all get it. Again, it is way too early.
Right.
And I cannot overemphasize that. This is way too early to properly determine what exactly happened and whether or not the shooting was reasonable. This is going to take months to analyze. The audience needs to understand, I've never been involved in an officer-involved shooting investigation that was completed even within 6 months. Typically, they can go on for well over a year.
He already telling y'all
Witness interviews here.
they gonna be stalling.
Multiple witnesses, civilians, law enforcement. They're going to have to analyze this, all the videos, compare them with each other, do a matrix comparison. They're going to bring in
Mimi.
human physiology experts to explain how long it takes for the common individual, never mind an officer, to be able to perceive the threat.
And it's set, Ed, if I'm sorry to interrupt you, and it's set in the middle of an active campaign to remove undocumented immigrants and criminals from the street. So it's in the middle of all this right now, which makes it even more contentious. Ed, we got to turn to another report right now. We're very grateful that you joined us. Use of force expert out in California, Ed Obayashi. Thank you so much for your insight into this complex investigation right now. Grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's turn gears now to Gordon Severson, who is live there at 34th Street and Portland Avenue. Gordy, what do you know?
Well, the crowd is starting to get bigger here at the scene, and we're starting to see some acts of escalation. We did see a couple of people burning an American flag just a few minutes ago. That kind of got a response from the crowd. We also saw what appears to be some sort of a counter-protester that was kind of stirring things up, and several people kind of pushed him out of the area. We saw some punches thrown, but that was maybe about 10, 15 minutes ago. It's quieted down a little bit since then. We're starting to see more people bringing in, loud instruments, loud noises, and so it's definitely changed from when I was here earlier this morning when it was very quiet, maybe 100 or 200 people. It has definitely grown since then. And for our viewers that are just, kind of tuning in, the scene has definitely changed from a law enforcement perspective. This morning, a lot of federal agents, a lot of FBI, but in the last hour or two, I haven't seen any federal agents. It's been mostly police and county sheriff's deputies who are now here keeping the scene secure so they can continue their investigation just down the street where those 3 vehicles are still smashed up against that light pole.
Wow.
Next of kin, or who? What was the fight about? What was happening there? We saw a motion during our interview during the press conference, and we couldn't decipher what it was, Gordy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the witnesses were telling me that it was someone that was maybe on the other side that was, calling out the protesters, and that was what happened. Others said it was someone that was, maybe having some sort of a mental illness situation and crossed a line, and then the crowd was reacting, and that started it. But that situation has been de-escalated, and there was no police intervention with that. It was all kind of people involved in the...
Get the likes up, y'all, please. Double tap the face of your screen.
Special report. Here's Tom Yamas.
Double tap the face of your screen.
With breaking news right now, the deadly ICE-involved shooting out of Minneapolis. The Minneapolis police chief says a woman was killed after being shot in the head by an ICE agent. Take a look at this video. It is one angle. It shows the moment of the shooting. The police chief says it happened when the woman was approached by federal law enforcement because her car was blocking a road. You see what happens here. They say she was not a target of law enforcement. The woman then tries to drive away, but it appears there was an agent directly in front of her. From the video, it looks like at least 2 shots were fired by that agent. The police chief confirming at least 2 shots were fired. The woman's vehicle crashes and she was pronounced dead at the hospital. Officials did not reveal the woman's identity, but authorities said she was middle-aged and white. Look. This is the video. Once again, you can see agents approaching her in front of the car. That agent appearing to fire. According to this angle, just one of a couple of different videos.
All you had to do is get out the way.
The Department of Homeland Security saying in a statement, quote, "Today, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism." Again, that coming from the federal government.
She was trying to kill him.
Officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. Thankfully, the ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries. Officials holding a news conference last hour with the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Fry, sending a strong message to ICE, telling them to leave Minneapolis now. Take a listen.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in the city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you.
At the same time, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem addressed the shooting at a separate news conference near the border in Texas, calling it an act of domestic terrorism.
They're just going to name it what they want to name it.
So a couple of questions there. You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action.
Release the full Epstein files unredacted.
In Minneapolis, they were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased.
Want to be very clear here. So far from the videos that we have seen, and we will keep showing them here, that is not exactly what has happened from the videos that we have seen.
That is not what
The videos that
happened.
we're seeing here, ICE agents approach a vehicle
Where is the person that's in front of her?
that is blocking them.
Now they just walked up. He came up. He came up shooting.
It appears that ICE agent fires at least 2 shots at the
Came up shooting.
Again, the woman sped off. She was in the line of sight
Came
directly
up
in
shooting.
front of that ICE agent. She did not
The
stop
fuck?
the car. The ICE agent fired.
Of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt.
And then y'all lying.
Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed
All because you don't want the Epstein files to be
our
released.
culture, to our economy, are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you.
At the same time, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem
I wanna hear your lying
addressed a
ass.
separate news conference near the border in Texas, calling it an act of domestic violence, clearly in her direction. And it appears that ICE agent fires at least 2 shots. Speaks to sort of the heightened level of intensity that is happening there in Minneapolis. We know that since at least December, according to NBC News, 1,400 people have been arrested in these ICE operations. What was happening today? Do we know in that area before this happened?
Well, they had targeted this area, again, for more ICE operations to build on that 1,400. So many of the arrests have been made just since Sunday, when ICE sent over 2,000 agents to Minneapolis area. And today was the day Border Patrol also started an increased presence in operations in Minneapolis.
Me too, Willie Lee.
Were already high before this incident took place. And of course, it comes after the Trump administration has fired back at Governor Tim Walz. In that statement from the Department of Homeland Security about this incident, they blame Walz and the city's sanctuary policies for incidents like these. But as you can see very clearly in this video,
Just one of a couple of different videos we're looking at right now. The Department of
Be on the other side that was, calling out the protesters, and that was what happened. Others said it was someone that was, maybe having some sort of a mental illness situation and crossed a line, and then the crowd was reacting, and that started it. But that situation has been de-escalated, and there was no police intervention with that. It was all kind of people involved in the.
I'm sorry.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Tom Yamas.
If he was under threat, imminent threat
Watch.
of death or great bodily harm by being struck by the vehicle.
Oh,
I think
wow.
what's critical in the case is
He
gonna
put
be the
himself
angle of
there
shot.
on purpose
For
to shoot.
example, if the shots are through the side driver's window, the side window, then, that's not really justifiable use of force because
Yep.
the car is passing you. But if they're from the front, and from some of the bullet hole photographs I've looked at online,
All he had to do is move
there appears to be
over.
one through the windshield, the front.
He
of the
walked up on
windshield.
her as she was. Oh my
Just
God.
directly on the driver's side fender, and a couple more that may be bullet holes right below that.
Could've shot the
They
tires.
said the officer fired 3 times.
You right,
this
Willie.
puts him more directly in the path of the vehicle. He has a millisecond to decide if he's going to be run over or not.
And then,
if
Jim, I
that's
guess the critical
case,
question is, Jim, the critical question is, what is most law enforcement training if
Yeah,
that
what are they trained?
indeed was in front of him and heading towards him?
No, you use deadly force because you don't want to be run over. So you're justified to use deadly force to stop the action.
He walked
from
up
running
on
you
her.
over, or hitting you. Even if you're hit with the headlight or the front fender, you could be seriously injured. Now, that's not to say it was justified. We don't know exactly, Tom, because the body-worn
Oh,
cameras
yeah.
of the ICE
Oh, yeah,
agents
that
have
was
to
a
be
better angle.
analyzed.
Hold on.
The statements of the agent, and especially
I don't know
the
if I
agent
can
who fired
show
his
that.
weapon, has to leave, to not comply with the officer's demands. There's another ICE agent, though, in front of the SUV. And what it will hinge on is the officer's
When they were trying to get into her car and try to open her door. I do want to bring in.
That's on you.
Oh, wow.
At the same time, Homeland Security Secretary
So many of the arrests have been made just since Sunday, when ICE sent over 2,000 agents to Minneapolis area. And today was the day Border Patrol also started an increased presence in operations in Minneapolis. So tensions, Tom, were already high before this incident took place. And of course, it comes after the Trump administration has fired back at Governor Tim Walz. In that statement from the Department of Homeland Security about this incident, they blame Walz and the city's sanctuary policies for incidents like
you can't
these.
tell him no.
You can see very clearly in this
He gonna
video,
take
Tom,
it anyway.
It does not appear that this person sought out these officers. They are coming to her car. As she goes into reverse, we see, of course, from the back of the car, so it's not clear if the officer at the hood of the car could have thought that he was moving closer to her before she attempted to turn her wheel. But I've been speaking to senior DHS officials who are familiar with ICE's training, and the way they train federal officers really across the government is that they are only supposed to use their weapons and fire at a person if there's an immediate threat of injury or death. And so typically, an incident like this would be investigated to determine if the officer used his or her weapon.
We ain't safe, y'all.
Had reached that height. Instead, what we're seeing today is very quick dissemination of information.
They looking for a reason.
From DHS in terms of statements and from Secretary Kristi Noem, quick to say this was an act of domestic terrorism and that it builds on what they say is an increase in threats and assaults on ICE officers, only ratcheting up the tension further between federal law enforcement and city leaders in Minneapolis and Minnesota.
Yeah, Julia, we've covered a lot of these cases where someone is in a car and the car is approaching a police officer in that manner, whether at a high speed. We'll learn more exactly how fast they were going, and the car is considered a lethal weapon. Courts have upheld that. In this case, it appears, again, from this video, she is clearly moving forward. There is an ICE agent in front of her. It is for experts, and I'm sure at some point, maybe even a court of law.
She got her eyes on the man at the window, not in front of her.
Was his life threatened? Was this driver in the wrong in not stopping, not surrendering when they were trying to get into her car and try to open her door? I do want to bring in Jim Cavanaugh right now.
They gonna say that
ATF special agent,
she didn't follow commands.
News analyst Jim. We're seeing one angle. There's another angle out there as well. But from what you can see in this video, what exactly happened here? And I know it is very, very early, and maybe even too early to sort of ask the question of who was right and who was wrong. But what are you seeing here with your eyes?
He positioned himself right in front of that car.
Well, we're seeing a person who was, being stopped in the street, her vehicle's across the street, and ICE agents are trying to talk to her. There's an agent right next to the driver's window, Tom, trying to talk to her.
He wasn't trying to talk.
Accelerates.
He was trying to yank her door open.
Escape, apparently. We don't know exactly.
Yeah, you making up shit, man. Fat fuck. Stop making up stuff. Stop writing a narrative.
In front of the SUV. And what it will hinge on is
writing the whole damn narrative.
Fired the shots, the one who's in front, that he believed he was under threat, imminent threat of death or great bodily harm.
Bubba said no, and he took it.
I think what's critical in the case is going to be the angle of shot.
Monty.
For example, if the shots are through the side driver's window, the side window, then that's
man,
not
this is some crazy stuff.
Because the car's passing you. But if they're from the front, and from some of the bullet hole photographs I've looked at online, there appears to be one through the windshield, the front of the windshield. Just directly on the driver's side fender, and a couple more that may be bullet holes right below that in the body. And they said the officer fired 3 times. This puts him more directly in the path of the vehicle. He has a millisecond to decide if he's going to be run over or not.
And then, Jim, I guess the critical question is, Jim, the critical question is, what is most law enforcement training if that vehicle indeed was in front of him and heading towards him?
No, you use deadly force because you don't want to be run over. So you're justified to use deadly force to stop the action from running you over.
Murder and desire.
Even if you're hit with the headlight or the front fender, you could be seriously injured.
We already see what he owns.
To say it was justified, we don't know exactly, Tom, because the body-worn cameras of the ICE agents have to be analyzed.
He almost shot his friend.
Of the agent, and especially
he's saying, damn.
His weapon has to be analyzed. The witness videos have
so how was he injured?
There has to be measurements. Everything has to be looked at carefully. But if it's reasonable that he thought he was going to be run over, and he's being assaulted and maybe run over. He can use deadly force. Tom, a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, he didn't think he was going to be run over," but when you're the person that's going to be run over.
Right.
It's a millisecond.
It is still very early, and tensions are still very high there in Minneapolis, and I'm sure we're going to learn much more in the minutes and hours ahead as we continue to cover this throughout the day here. We're going to stay on top of this. This is going to conclude this NBC News special report right now. We're going to have much more ahead on NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com, and a full wrap-up.
In place in order to allow it to be compliant, allow it to maintain control of the people, and to force it, I should say, to be compliant. And
they in
to send
Columbia.
more
Hold on.
to the United States to enrich America.
At these officers that have walked down.
In any way that we could. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There was the notion that ICE agents would be necessary to create a perimeter around the scene itself. They themselves were.
I need for y'all to double tap the face of your screen, get the lights up.
Trying to help with. And so the message that we delivered very clearly was to make them leave. Now, beyond leaving the scene, they should also leave our city and our state. We do work, our chief does work, our sheriff does work every single day to keep people safe in our city and in our state. And crime is dramatically down. Crime is down. It continues to trend down. They are doing the hard work of investigating, of arresting perpetrators of violent crime. What this federal administration is doing right now is not about creating safety. Do not let them tell you that what they are doing is about creating safety. It is not. It is having the opposite impact. We need to be clear-eyed about the work that is moving forward, and they need to leave Minneapolis.
Time for one more question. Mayor, you may know this with your legal background. If a shooting is found to not be justified, does the city have any legal, or the state rather, have any legal recourse to bring charges against this ICE agent, given that this person is a federal agent, if the feds don't?
So obviously, and I have to always lead with this caveat because it is true, an investigation still does need to be conducted. I had my perception of what took place based on the vehicle and the vehicle's positioning. It does not appear that the individual is trying to ram anybody. Now, the question was, if it is in fact found to be an unjustified shooting, who issues the charge, who prosecutes, how does justice take place? I don't know the answer in full to that. This is obviously information that we're still working out. Chief, do you have any additional information, or Commissioner?
The only thing I would add to the mayor's statement is that the crime scene was held by the Minneapolis Police Department, and the investigation is now being led jointly by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And the purpose of their involvement would be to investigate whether any state laws within the state of Minnesota have been violated.
Can I just add something to that too? What's very important is that for our communities that we do have some kind of part in this investigation. It needs to be done on a local level. With all due respect to the federal level, we do need to make sure that our local agencies are involved. Well, certainly the BCA is very well capable of working with our federal partners in doing so. That is something that is needed for our communities, and so that's something that I can tell you that there's already been conversations from the U.S. Attorney's Office to the BCA that have already taken place today. How that's going to roll out, we don't know yet, but we are making sure that there is some kind of local entity, namely the BCA, that has a part in this investigation for the purposes of transparency and expedient transparency as to what happened today.
One more. That's it.
Thank
you, everybody.
Again, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to the media for being here and disseminating this very important information around this tragic incident. To reiterate a final message to our community members, I understand the anger. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice. That's what we need to be doing right now. I appreciate the service from everybody up here as well as the 435,000 people that call Minneapolis home. Thank you.
Got some housekeeping for you.
Yeah, Hallie, there was certainly the big question, will he plea or won't he plea? I don't think many people had this as a consideration whatsoever, but when we saw Jackson approach that plexiglass
side here on the left side of your screen, that is Police Chief Brian O'Hara. There is an enormous law enforcement presence here from multiple different jurisdictions. Our photographer is going to show you what the crowd looks like here, Dana. Mayor Fry is now leaving. I think you're probably starting to hear people yelling to him, but he is now leaving. He had spoken with some people on the edge of the crowd when he first arrived, according to a man who had video of it. He did not come back to the crowd. Now a crowd is following him down the street, but what you're looking at right now is the law enforcement response here. So you see Minneapolis Police, you see the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. We've also seen the U.S. Marshals here. We've seen Customs and Border Patrol. But let me bring you up to speed with what we know. As you said, we know that there was a shooting involving federal law enforcement near East 34th Street and Portland Avenue. That was according to the city of Minneapolis. We do not yet know for sure what the extent of any injuries are or what prompted this. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has weighed in, saying my public safety team is working to gather information on an ICE-related shooting this morning. Again, Mayor Jacob Fry is here. This is all in the context of this ramped-up immigration enforcement that DHS has been touting. They say this is the largest immigration crackdown to date. 2,000 agents spread throughout the Twin Cities. This has been going on for a couple of days now. We know that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was here in the Minneapolis area yesterday. And what we see now is this real peak moment here where, based on our understanding, there was a shooting involving federal law enforcement here, and as Governor Tim Walz said, involving an ICE agent. We are learning to, trying to learn as much as we can. But let me just get you, another picture of the crowd here, because this is a city where these George Floyd riots are not far in the rearview mirror. And what I keep hearing from people in this area is they say, if you thought that was bad, this city is about to explode. So the line that Minneapolis police are towing right now is trying to keep this calm and not inflame the crowd, because
they were looking for a problem.
They cannot have a repeat of the George Floyd riots. And so right now what you're seeing is it is loud, Dana, but this is very controlled. We've seen a lot of flare-ups between the public and law enforcement in Chicago, for example. This is a very controlled scene, although it is noisy. Again, we're continuing to try to find out more about what happened, but Dana, that's the latest here.
Whitney, you probably can't hear yourself think because it's so loud there. It's a little hard for us to hear what you're saying because obviously there are a lot of people there who are quite angry. If you can hear me, and perhaps it's too early to know the answer to this, but it sounds like officials are being quite careful when they just say a shooting involving a federal agent. Does that mean that somebody who they were going after, who ICE was going after, was shot? Was there a shootout?
There wasn't no damn shootout.
We don't know. We don't know yet. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's starting to get really spicy. So let me give you context of what is going on here. Dana, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
I put my microphone a little closer to my mouth. Okay. That's Police Chief Brian O'Hara right now. The crowd is really directing their frustration that direction at the moment. People here are really angry. We're hearing them yell at the Minneapolis Police Department. They don't feel like the Minneapolis Police Department is serving the Minneapolis voters, the Minneapolis taxpayers right now. And so right now what you're hearing is a lot of anger directed toward the local law enforcement here, even though they were not involved in this shooting, as far as we know, Dana.
All right, Whitney, we're gonna let you go. Obviously, it is interesting that you're saying that their anger is towards local law enforcement. I would imagine in addition to federal law enforcement, ICE agents in particular. So we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you do some reporting. Stay safe. And we will get back to you as soon as you get more. Thanks so much for your terrific reporting, Whitney. DHS has confirmed that an individual has died. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make
full recovery.
They
Can you fill in the
weren't
blanks with that?
injured.
Yeah, Dana, let's set the scene here. So in Minneapolis right now, the Department of Homeland Security has surged thousands of agents. There are around 2,000 agents that have been deployed to the state of Minnesota, and there have been ongoing operations, especially in Minneapolis. So that is what has been ongoing in that city and in that area. And this morning, the Department of Homeland Security says that they were conducting what they call these targeted operations. That is to say that they went out to a location, they had a target in mind. Over the course of that operation, according to their statement, ICE officers and one of these violent rioters they're calling weaponized their vehicle. This is according to their statement. And they also go on to say, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers. And they call this an act of domestic terrorism. And they say that is what prompted an ICE officer, who they said was fearing for their life, to fire these defensive shots. And this alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. This is according to the Department of Homeland Security. I have asked the Department of Homeland Security if this was a U.S. citizen, because we do not know the status of this individual who was in this vehicle.
They said it was a U.S. citizen.
We have seen in multiple cities that the actions of ICE as they carry out their operations has prompted protesters and rioters at some of these operations. But generally, I will say, Dana, in talking to my sources over the course of the morning, there are a lot of questions here about these defensive shots that the Department of Homeland Security is talking about, because generally the policy for ICE officers to use to shoot would be if the subject poses, quote, an imminent threat of serious injury and or death. So there are a lot of questions here as to what prompted that defensive shot outside of the use of the vehicle. And it is these types of questions that would prompt also an internal investigation at the Department of Homeland Security, typically to try to get the answers as to what exactly unfolded here for there to be a fatal incident that includes Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And again, it is Immigration and Customs Enforcement that was involved here, according to DHS. Recall that there are multiple agencies that are on the ground doing these immigration enforcement operations, and even photos of the scene showed, at least after the fact, that it was both ICE on the ground as well as local police department and U.S. Border Patrol, which has similarly been deployed to Minneapolis to continue the operation. So we are still trying to seek more answers here, Dana, but at the outset, what we know is that there was an ICE-involved shooting, that there has been a fatality. We're trying to get what the status of that person was, if they were a U.S. citizen, but of course against the backdrop of this massive immigration operation.
We should have known he was focused on Minneapolis. It went from the daycare. I mean, it went from Trump going in on the representative alert. This is bad. Yep. To the daycare. I'm looking at something, and then now this. The YouTuber with the fake daycare entry shit. Out of this.
Side and says that this guy's in the hospital. Devastating actions by ICE under Trump's fascist regime have taken place in Minneapolis. ICE agents have shot a protester in the face for no reason whatsoever. And then this ICE
Please don't tell me he in the hospital.
Agent just walks away, doesn't see if she's okay, gets in a car and leaves. Then the President of the United States gets on his idiotic social media website and says that this guy's in the hospital, which are all lies. And this is a George Floyd moment. This administration has gone too far. They are breaking every aspect of our country, and now they're shooting people. These little dick energy ICE agents that are recruited by these broken, imbecilic psychos like Kristi Noem and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. And I want to play you guys this clip in slow motion, and I'll describe it for any of you that happen to be listening. So here she is in the car. There's ICE agents surrounding the car.
Hold on. Hold on so everybody can see. Hold on.
car. She backs up to get away from them. She turns her wheels all the way to the right. Officer
oh, wow. He just
shoots
points at
There,
her.
Here she is in the car. There's ICE agents surrounding the people. These,
oh, wow.
These little dick energy ICE agents that are recruited by these broken, imbecilic psychos like Kristi Noem and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. And I want to play you guys this clip in slow motion, and I'll describe it for any of you that happen to be listening.
Oh, wow.
So here she is in the car. There's ICE agents surrounding the car. She backs up to get away from them. She
Look at him.
turns
He
her
done already
wheels all
pulled
the
it
way
out.
to the right. Officer.
He got in front of the car on purpose. He could have moved.
Murders her point blank. Car crashes. Officer shoots her 3-4 times in the face. Kills her
in the face.
She turns her wheels all the way to the right.
So at first it was these two people at her window. Y'all see that? It's two people at her window. So where do you think her focus is? He hasn't pulled out a gun yet. He's doing it now. She's still, or she's backing up because we slowed it down, right? So this is how it started. So she's trying to cut her wheels to get out.
I'm going to be listening.
He done walked up now. He could have moved out the way. He's gone. Oh man, this is crazy.
So here she is in the car. There's ICE agents surrounding the car.
Now, okay, so now he's finna pull it out. Where's the danger? If he was feeling danger, oh wow, wouldn't it already be out?
She backs up.
Look. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
To get away from them, she turns her wheels all the way to the right.
Gun just pointed at her. Pointed at this woman's head.
Officer shoots her 3-4 times in the face. Kills her. Murders her point blank.
I know why is he in the hospital?
And then Pumps read some reporting that doctors were there's a doctor on the scene that was trying to help her, and ICE agents wouldn't allow the doctor to treat her. This is the American Gestapo. This is what Stephen Miller wants. This is horrific beyond all measure.
When you think about a woman was driving her car in protest of ICE, she was turning around to leave the scene, and a masked man and his goons encompassed the car, and he took a pistol and put it in her face and shot her more than once. And then they would not allow a doctor on scene to care for her, and she died in the United States of America. It's so stunning. It took me about an hour to just process this really happened. This is what's going on. And then following it up with the lies and the propaganda, if this isn't a clear screenshot of what's actually happening, believe it with your eyes, it's on video. And then the propaganda machine that is the Trump administration, this is the clearest example that I have seen, because they are lying to our faces, which we have suspected about, all of these Tyler Robinson shooting of Charlie Kirk, his murderer, at the Dallas immigration facility. Now we see it with our own eyes. They are absolutely willing to lie to cover their ass.
Absolutely.
They don't give a shit that a 37-year-old American woman was murdered by them. They don't care. They're lying about it. This isn't the first time. ICE has done this before and saying, this car wreck situation. And I'm sorry, where the place escapes me, that in court filings, they had to dismiss the case because they were lying. So everything they're saying right now is a lie.
And I just want to remind everybody, and I want to directly speak to Black Americans right now. I am sorry that for so many decades, people didn't listen to you, that police departments were doing exactly what we saw now, and that for so many white Americans, this is novel, that this is happening in the United States of America, because this has happened to your communities for decades, and you were ridiculed and called race hustlers and anti-police and all of these horrible things. And this is what happens when you abandon a group when it pertains to human rights, when you prioritize other human rights and then you dismiss the rights of another group. And so I saw what happened to George Floyd, and I saw what happened when we go back to Rodney King. And this has been an American problem for a very, very, very long time. This isn't new. This isn't novel for America. This is just probably, I don't know what the color of this woman's skin is, but I know that all of you have been telling us this for a very long time. What's happening now is the corrupt police are now the ICE, and they have multiplied, and they are invading American cities and alienating people of their humanity. And these people that they recruit, these are not the best of us. These are really broken people. These are the type of people that would probably go to January 6th. All of those felons that committed all of those crimes, that beat all of those cops at January 6th, these are broken people with personality disorders, broken inner childs, just like the people that are running the country right now. And then here is a still image of ICE putting a gun in the face of this person driving.
Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He almost shot his hand.
The car, and I don't have many details on her. We understand that she's a 37-year-old American. We can't confirm that right now, but this is what's happening in America. Stephen Miller's vision for the country is for this to be replicated in city after city after city. And this is what happens, America, when you don't listen to vulnerable people in your country. Black people are no less than we are, and they've been telling us about cooking the books, lying, planting evidence for years and years and years. And this is not new. Now it's just nationalized, and everybody's on the menu. Everybody's on the menu now, so now people care. And it's important as we rebuild and we reconcile and we atone for what is happening right now. We have to atone for the fact that we left so many people and disregarded their humanity and disregarded their human rights. And now we just cannot pretend like this is novel. It was unacceptable then to a Black person. It's unacceptable now. What happened to that woman? This is not what democracy looks like. This is not what law and order looks like. This is what crime and disorder looks like. This is what they want. They want you scared to death. They want you scared to go vote. They want you scared to protest. And that woman right there, her biggest crime is she cared. Right. She cared about brown-skinned people that were, Kylie is found. Her name is Renee Nicole Good, 37 years old, lived in the Twin Cities with her partner. She was an amazing human being. Mother identifies woman shot, killed by ICE agents. So Renee Nicole Good, her biggest crime for the MAGA regime is empathy. She's an empathetic person. And even MAGA supporters right now, these white Christian women are writing books about when empathy becomes toxic, because they know that it's a problem. But this woman was empathetic to the plight of these families that MAGA people are dismissive of because the color of the skin or the accent that they have or what their mother tongue is. And she cared about them. And she cared about families not being separated and the inhumanity of this. And the United States government murdered her for it. And now the president and dipshit Kristi Noem is trolling around with a cowboy hat on, like this is a time to put on a costume. Kylie, do you have that up? Here's Kristi Noem's response. Sorry, guys.
You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Look at this on the far right. It's unbelievable.
What happened, it was our ICE officers were out in enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit.
She is lying. It is a bullshit lie. On the slow motion video that we showed you, they're surrounding her. She reversed to get away from them. Before she actually accelerated, she turned the wheels all the way. The officer that shot her was on the caddy corner of the car, crams the gun in her face and shoots her because he has little dick energy. He's a broken person. He's a triple trumper that is mad for God only knows what. His small dick, his mom was mean to him, whatever it is. And all of these broken people are playing out all of their inner child issues and their penchant for sadism on the American public.
No, it's so incredibly disturbing. If these actions were taken by the federal government, which I completely agree with you on what's been going on with the black and brown community, particularly the black community for years with their police departments. But you have the Secretary of Homeland Security knows the video is out there and she lies to people about it. You have the President of the United States telling people, don't believe your eyes, believe what I tell you. And unfortunately, about 30 to 35% of America will believe that. But what I am hopeful for is this will awaken that other portion that is kind of head in the clouds, and they will see this and say, what else are they lying to me about? Because I saw this with my own eyes. And they're telling me it was self-defense when there is no possible way it's self-defense. That is what, that would be what brought goodness out of tragedy. But this is unacceptable, full stop, period. We should all, as Americans, be ashamed that our federal government is doing this and lying to us about it.
Well, and they've been lying for such a long time. Donald Trump is a total liar. He started his lie embedded in racism that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. And these people all have the same flavor of sadism.
That's Renee.
They like to abuse.
They say this is the young lady who was shot.
People
Renee
with pigment in
Good.
their skin. And they all share that. Stephen Miller is talking about deporting 100 million people in the United States of America. 100 million people.
Mental health, no, they're not. They're being honest.
This guy is off his
Our
rocker.
president
The
and his
strong man
ICE
is a
team
frail,
is disgusting.
frazzled, dried up old queen working on his interior design.
How can you call them disgusting and ICE just shot and killed an innocent person? Yeah, this is Renee Good. Renee Nicole Good, that was 37, that ICE intentionally targeted her and unalived her. And then we have mental health come in and say that these ladies who are expressing their freedom of speech is disgusting. No, you get out. You're disgusting. Yeah, you're fired. Get out. Pack your shit and get out. Yeah, this is the young lady who lost her life. On purpose. He shot her on purpose. He could have very well moved. He could have very well got out the way. He didn't have to get in front of it. The car, the vehicle. And why were they trying to yank her out the car? Why were they trying to yank her out the car? It's always somebody else's fault. Have we noticed that? It just keeps being somebody else's fault. And they have already set in motion a reason. Oh, she was a terrorist. Oh, da, da, da. And they do this every time. Every time. And Lord in heaven knows, don't let her come out to be a MAGA supporter.
Projects, listening to Phantom of the Opera full tilt, and Stephen Miller's running the show.
Hey, Scott, Alex.
This man is
that young lady
to the highest order. He's far more dangerous than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is racist. There's no question about it.
Hey,
he has no conviction about it. The minute a dark-skinned, good-looking Muslim, Zoran Mamdani, walked into his office, I'm not racist. I'm not Islamophobic. He doesn't even have conviction about being a racist, but the people surrounding him do. And they're dead serious about this. They similarities between Stephen Miller and what his goals are for the United States of America, the similarities with what Hitler's goals were for Nazi Germany. There's barely any daylight there.
Let me see what else we got. Hold on.
That we can't call them fascists, or we.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is on purpose. This is what we got going on right now, y'all. This does not make any type of sense. Says she's a U.S. citizen.
New episodes Mondays.
Even after all these years, I never tire of this view.
Your favorite community return.
Hey everybody, it's me, Sam Stein, managing editor at The Bulwark. I'm here with Tim Miller. It is...
Let me hear this one.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, we have some major breaking news here. An ICE officer has shot and killed a U.S.
I need for y'all to double tap the face of y'all screen. It's 188 people in here. I know that's how you're listening in, or hit. So let's be clear.
During a protest,
she was a U.S. citizen.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, we have some major breaking news here. An ICE officer has shot and killed a U.S. citizen who was attempting to flee the scene in Minneapolis during a protest against ICE. So I'm going to put about 15-20 seconds of the footage right here on the screen, a trigger warning for anybody who's watching it. This is obviously disturbing footage. I'm also going to take the sound away. So here is a quick clip of what happened in Minneapolis.
So a car passed. She was stuck.
Now, Glenn, that's one angle. There are obviously other angles that are floating around the internet right now, but I think all of them generally show roughly the same thing, which is that there is an ICE agent right at the corner of the vehicle. The person in the vehicle was attempting to turn the wheel so that they could flee the scene, and of course the ICE agent used that as the opportunity to shoot and ultimately kill the person who was in the vehicle. So first and foremost, can I have your reaction to the footage that we just saw? And then I'm going to read some of the responses from the law enforcement agencies.
Brian, I've watched multiple camera angles, including a close-up, slow-motion version of that deadly shooting. And to this old prosecutor, it looked like criminal homicide, some level of homicide, whether second-degree murder or manslaughter. But I've tried to absorb as much information about the shooting as is out there presently, and I will let you read the statement that was issued. Pure propaganda, that factors into my conclusion about what I'm seeing there.
So the statement by ICE, by Homeland Security, was as follows. I'm going to put this right here on the screen. Today, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. And of course, the statement goes on, but that is the crux of basically the narrative that Department of Homeland Security is sticking with right now.
This is what would happen to your body if you ate mood sleep gummies every day. Day one, you take your first gummy.
That is pure propaganda based on what the video captured from multiple angles. So let me add to that what I heard Kristi Noem herself say. She said that our ICE agent's car got stuck in the snow and they were attempting to push it out of the snow.
Lies.
And this, terrorist came up and tried to ram them with her car. Brian,
Real guy,
heard that.
you're
I was
right.
so effing
he wanted it done.
What we see,
he has
break
a quota.
it down, and then let's talk about the law that applies to a police-involved shooting, something that I was, involved in as a career homicide prosecutor multiple times, trying to assess whether what we see was a legitimate exercise of police force, whether it was excessive but perhaps understandable, or whether it was flat out criminal. So what Kristi Noem said is so contradicted by the video, because what we see, one camera angle that you just displayed, there is a woman. Now, you can't see that she's a woman, but reportedly the person killed was a woman driving this vehicle, is actually trying to back up to get out of the way.
She let somebody pass.
I'm going to put that right on the screen.
She let somebody pass.
So you can see the vehicle backing
37.
up, turning the wheels, and then driving away. Go on.
I mean, this is such a direct refutation of what Kristi Noem said. It appears that there is I think a white ICE vehicle, identified as an ICE vehicle, stopped in the street. You see this woman slowly backing her car up to get out of the way of the ICE vehicle so she can go around it and be on her way.
She let somebody pass.
And as she is, after she is backing up, she obviously puts it in drive. She begins to move forward. She turns her wheel away from the officers who are kind of to the front left of her vehicle, and she tries to go around the ICE vehicle. And one of the officers.
Where was he at in front of her? He was not in front of her. He was not in front of her car. He was not. He was not in front.
Tries to go around the ICE vehicle, and one of the officers opens fire on what I believe is an unarmed woman who I don't believe is wanted. I haven't heard that there was an arrest warrant for her. She was a known, dangerous person.
This is so messed up on so many levels.
Woman who I don't believe is wanted. I haven't heard that there was an arrest warrant for her. She was a known, dangerous person, and they kill her. That to this old prosecutor looks like an actionable criminal homicide.
Renee Nicole
homicide
Good.
Because it could be, for example, a second-degree murder. It could be a lower level of homicide, criminal homicide, a manslaughter. But, that to me does not look like a justified use of deadly force. When does an officer get to engage in deadly force? Brian, it's actually not that different from when you or I would be lawfully entitled to exercise self-defense, including lethal force. If an officer is at imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury as a result of being confronted by these circumstances, the officer can engage in force, but only that amount of force necessary to repel the attack. But if you are about to be killed, let me break it down from legalese into English. If you're about to be killed, you can exercise lethal force to defend your life. If somebody else is about to be killed, a police officer can exercise deadly force to protect that third person's life. But you know what you can't do, Brian? You can't shoot at a car that is trying to drive around a vehicle that is not posing an imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury to anybody, based on what I'm seeing from those multiple camera angles. So assuming that this is criminal conduct, and it sure looks like criminal conduct to me, the next question is, what will be done about it, if anything, by either federal law enforcement authorities?
Please double tap the face on your phone.
And I want to jump into that in just a
for
moment,
me.
but I have to read one more statement and get your reaction to this. This is Trump's response to the footage.
He was awful.
He said, quote, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting."
No, he shot through the front window. He looked dead at her.
Ran over the ICE officer who seemed to have
He did not run over anybody. I can't stand the lies. It's the officer in front that fired. Yeah, I know. It's two on the side and one walked up toward the front. Absolutely. He walked up on, pointed, and shot her twice in her face. He was not in danger. She was not trying to run anybody over. He walked right up front. And when the car pulled off, he was not in front of the car. And he was still trying to shoot. He shot her twice in the face. Her name, right? This young lady right here. Lord, I don't forgot her name. I just remember Nicole Good. Y'all, what's her first name? I don't even remember. Lord, this is crazy. And Trump is lying.
Was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seemed to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but he is now recovering in the hospital.
It's hard to believe. It's their lies.
And the woman driving
you know, when they do stuff like this, it just really makes me think that this was on purpose. They always come out with these extreme ass stories that is not the damn truth.
Was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seemed to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but he is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied.
He walked to her car.
The reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They're just trying to do the job of making America safe.
Oh my
we need to
God.
stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate.
Let me say this. I am just so sick of it because somebody's going to come in those comment sections and repeat. Although they saw exactly what happened, they are going to repeat everything that Donald Trump has just lied and said. That's the part that's going to get on my nerves already before it happens. That they are going to drink a whole tall glass of that bullshit ass Kool-Aid that they cult family have made for them, and they're going to repeat it verbatim. And it just blows my mind. And it's time for us to stop repeating the lies and stand up for the truth. No, that is not what happened. No. Absolutely not. And I'm not going with it. Until we stand up firm for the truth, he gonna continue to lie in our face. He has already told the people that you could see him do wrong and still say it wasn't him. He playing in people's face. Let's go.
Recovering in the hospital.
Thank you,
the situation is being
Norma.
studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seemed to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but he is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They're just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate. So a slew of outright lies, this idea that the woman was violently running over the ICE officer, hard to believe he's alive. To be clear, the ICE officer in the aftermath of this footage actually ran over to the car to see the woman who he had just shot and killed. So this notion that he was bloodied on the floor and couldn't even stand up because he'd been so viciously run over by this woman is so outside the realm of reality.
Hello everyone, we are closing our little jewellery shop and we really need to clear out our remaining inventory. So now everything is 80%.
This is the craziest mess ever, y'all. I ain't gonna even lie. And it's gonna get worse until we the people put a stop to it.
Based on the camera angles I saw, the officer stepped out of the way. I did not discern that the officer was struck by the vehicle.
No, not at all.
And the officer, as the vehicle was moving away from him,
he moved out the way,
unloaded, and killed the woman who's in the car. Mind you, Brian, you can't shoot at a fleeing vehicle to try to stop the driver from getting away. You know, think about this.
Oh, wow.
And
He out of here. He's supposed to be out of here then. And she wasn't going at a fast
speed. A known bad guy just robbed the bank, just killed an old lady, is barreling down the street. Police officers don't line up, and just start shooting at the car as it's going by. We throw down rumble strips or we try to box it in. Why? Because you can't shoot at a fleeing vehicle, or you can't shoot at somebody running away on foot either if that person is not posing an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to you or another member of the community. So all of this is not, listen, Donald Trump does nothing but spew propaganda into the public square, just as he did in his run.
Because he said he can, and y'all gonna believe him.
That is not posing an imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury to anybody based on what I'm seeing from those multiple camera angles. Assuming that this is criminal conduct, and it sure looks like criminal conduct to me, the next question is, what will be done about it, if anything, by either federal law enforcement authorities or state law enforcement authorities?
And I want to jump into that in just a moment, but I have to read one more statement and get your reaction to this. This is Trump's response to the footage.
Lord, not again.
He said, quote, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly.
Now somebody's saying, stop, you shooting her! Is a career agitator.
Ran over the ICE officer who seemed to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but he is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They're just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate." So a slew of outright lies, this idea that the woman was violently running over the ICE officer, hard to believe he's alive. To be clear, the ICE officer in the aftermath of this footage actually ran over to the car to see the woman who he had just shot and killed. So this notion that he was bloodied on the floor and couldn't even stand up because he'd been so viciously run over by this woman is so outside the realm of reality.
Based on the camera angles I saw, the officer stepped out of the way. I did not discern that the officer was struck by the vehicle.
No, not at all.
And the officer, as the vehicle was moving away from him, unloaded and killed the woman who's in the car. Mind you, Brian, you can't shoot at a fleeing vehicle to try to stop the driver from getting away. Think about this, and you may have movie references. When a bad guy, right, a known bad guy, just robbed the bank, just killed an old lady, is barreling down the street, police officers don't line up, and just start shooting at the car as it's going by. We throw down rumble strips or we try to box it in. Why? Because you can't shoot at a fleeing vehicle, or you can't shoot at somebody running away on foot either if that person is not posing an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to you or another member of the community. So all of this is not good. Listen, Donald Trump does nothing but spew propaganda into the public square, just as he did in his run-up to being tried for his crimes in state court in New York. Once you move into a court proper, none of this is evidence. None of it would be admissible. It's all a bunch of propaganda, lies, and bullshit. And Donald Trump was convicted in a New York Minute on the evidence. Now, what will happen here, in my estimation, is, you have the possibility of a federal prosecution, a federal criminal investigation, and if the evidence warrants it, a federal prosecution, and a state investigation and potential prosecution. Now, I don't think any of us are foolish enough to believe that Kash Patel's FBI will conduct a legitimate, full, fair investigation of this incident, and if the evidence supports a federal indictment, that Pam Bondi's DOJ will indict this ICE officer. We know that's not going to happen. Of course, if it did happen, Donald Trump would simply pardon him, because in Donald Trump's book, he's already a hero based on that bullshit statement that Trump issued. But the state, if the state authorities believe that their local laws, their state homicide, murder, manslaughter laws were violated, and it looks to my eye, I haven't seen all of the evidence, but based on the camera angles I saw, this looks like unjustified excessive force resulting in death, then the officer should be charged in state court. Let me talk through what happens.
That means that Trump can't pardon him.
There are state charges brought. That officer, because he's a federal officer who will claim I should enjoy qualified immunity against prosecution because I was a federal officer engaged in the official duties of my office. That officer will try to have the case transferred or removed from state court
to
federal court. Again, just like Donald Trump did with his state prosecution in Manhattan. Alvin Bragg's district attorney's office was prosecuting him for state crimes. He tried to take his case and get it transferred to federal court. And Judge Alvin Hellerstein said, oh, heck no, you're going to remain being prosecuted in state court because you have no viable claim that what you were doing by paying off a porn star and then hiding what you were doing with these payments was some kind of a presidential duty. So we have to try this in federal court. So, but the ICE agent will undoubtedly, if he is indicted in state court, try to get his case transferred to federal court. And then it's an open question as to whether the judge would grant that motion and it would become a state court prosecution that would be tried in federal court. And it would give that officer the opportunity to make a full, robust claim of qualified immunity and try to convince the federal court judge, I was acting within the scope of my official duties when I shot the woman under the circumstances that we see in the video. I don't think that's going to fly.
Is there a better likelihood of qualified immunity working in federal court as opposed to state court, as opposed to keeping this thing in state court and allowing the prosecution to go that way?
You know, first of all, it is kind of judge specific. I have trust and confidence in the federal trial court bench generally, and in the federal courts of appeal. I've lost my faith and confidence and respect, you know, in the Supreme Court, unfortunately, given some of the rulings that they have handed down in Donald Trump's favor that undercut the express text of the Constitution. But so what it does, though, is when you're in state court litigating questions of qualified immunity, you know, that's not like the stock and trade of state court judges or state court systems, because they don't often try federal employees or federal officers. That's why, you know, the federal courts are a little bit better equipped. Why? Because they have an entire body of case law, of precedent available to them on the question of qualified immunity as it is applied to federal officers. But I don't think that will necessarily give the defendant a better chance of winning the qualified immunity motion and getting his charges dismissed. So, but it's a bit dependent on who the judges are. But as I say, and I will always say, I generally have faith, trust, and confidence in the federal judiciary.
And finally, let's talk about pardons for a moment. If this moves from the state court system to the federal court system, it's not like it would leave the state itself. It's just in federal court in that state. And so how would Trump's ability to issue a pardon apply here?
So yeah, this is a little counterintuitive, because once a case is in federal court, you think, oh, it's a federal case. No, if the federal prosecutors decline to bring charges against this person, and that's what I suspect will happen, once the state court prosecutors decide to indict him, if they present the evidence to a grand jury, the grand jury decides there's enough to indict. If that case is successfully prosecutors proceeding on the state court crimes that were indicted by the state grand jury,
sorry, let me go back a little bit.
Tried in federal court. This is not unprecedented. It's unusual. The grand jury decides there's enough to indict. If that case is successfully transferred to federal court, guess what? It's still a state court prosecution. It's not like it magically morphs into a federal prosecution. No, you don't bring federal prosecutors in to handle it. There are not indictments of federal crimes. It is still the state court prosecutors proceeding on the state court crimes that were indicted by the state grand jury. They just happen to be tried in federal court. This is not unprecedented. It's unusual. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And, you know, if it does happen and this person ultimately is tried on those charges in federal court, well, then the victim will have her day, her family, because she didn't survive the incident, will have their day in court, and hopefully justice will be done based on the evidence and the law.
All right, well, obviously a lot to continue to discuss.
We'll pause for a minute, allow y'all the opportunity to double tap the face on the phone if that's how you're listening in to this tragedy in Minnesota with the ICE agent unaliving a U.S. citizen that they are trying to say now was a terrorist. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is just absolutely ridiculous. Makes no sense. Please double tap the face of your phone. If you're listening in on the device, or if you're on your computer, hit those three dots at the top right corner in. Ooh, to get the likes up. Now we're knocking over stuff. Hold on. Hold on. I want to keep her picture up while y'all get the likes up. Are y'all still with me? Can y'all still hear? Did y'all see that face? The victim's face. Hi, Linda. Renee Nicole Good, 37 years old, was unalived by ICE. She let a car pass. And after she let a car pass, she was trying to get out the way. And then two men hopped out in a Ford F-150 or something, trying to open up her door. She's trying to get out the way, and another ICE agent comes from, in front while she's looking at these two masked men, shoots her in her face. Yes. And then he gives this crazy ass statement about this young lady. That's Don Lemon and his crew.
I have no idea who came up with the idea to get me this, but it's genius. It's 2025, and some people are still using those battery lights, swapping a ton of batteries every month, total waste of money. Check this.
Oh, he's done.
Right? Horrific. But what they want is
each other's people. We have two speakers with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, and I want to give them special praise because they're always calling out the fucking DFL and the people in power right now in our city who do not allow any accountability to occur, who have killed community members like Mariah Samuels and Allison Lucier. Say shame to police violence, shame! And what we need to do is hold that ICE officer on trial and put him in fucking jail. So it's my honor to welcome Loretta and Noah with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. Their struggle is our struggle. Ready? Come on, come on. Don't be shy. Let's get it out!
Good evening, my name is Noah. I'm an organizer with the Freedom Road Socialist Organization and the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. And I'm also angry. I'm sad, but I'm mostly furious. Renee Good did not deserve to get killed today in cold blood. I want to extend my deepest condolences and my heart to the family of Renee Good. They lost someone who truly cared and somebody who deserved to live a long and full life, and ICE took that today. Shame. And now we're seeing lies from the federal administration calling her a domestic terrorist. That's a lie.
It's a lie.
She showed up to watch the terrorists. She showed up to observe the terrorists. We are seeing ICE terrorists all throughout our city, deporting our immigrant neighbors.
They don't want to call them
community members, tearing families apart.
That's what
and
they
we
are.
will not stand for that. Renee did not set out to commit terrorism. This morning she set out to observe a raid because she cares. Because she cared for her neighbors. Because she cared for the people in this city. And that is more than any ICE agent or any police officer could say. And I'm tired of seeing police collaborate with ICE. I'm tired of seeing the Minneapolis Police Department with their backs to the ICE agents and with their guns and their batons facing the people. They need to respect the separation ordinance. They need to stop violating the separation ordinance. And ICE needs to get out of our city. The Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, we are organizing for political power. We understand that the police cannot be reformed. We understand that ICE cannot be reformed. And we understand that we need democratic control over the Minneapolis police. We also demand that ICE agents leave our cities. We also demand the end to mass deportations. And we demand that the ICE agent who killed Renee Good today be prosecuted to the fullest extent. We demand full accountability and justice for Renee. Don't believe the lies. She was murdered in cold blood today. Don't be confused by this administration. Don't be confused by the lies.
Why do so many people trust iHerb for their health and wellness products? Simple. We guarantee freshness. Buy direct from manufacturers and ship fast to your doorstep. So, fitness fanatics, stretchaholics, immunity boosters, weight shedders, light sleepers, dog mommies, mommy mommies, even the good doctor here. They all trust iHerb to deliver the freshest, high-quality health and wellness products on earth. iHerb's curated selection of products are quality tested, stored in climate-controlled facilities, and shipped fresh. Seems pretty obvious, but it's just one of the many ways we make wellness better. iHerb.
Hey, my name is Loretta Van Pelt. I'm also a member of Freedom Road Socialist Organization and a member of Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. My comrade said it best. I don't know what more to say other than all I know is I've been very emotional today about what happened. I've been a little emotional about what's been happening today. I live in South Minneapolis. I'm from South Minneapolis, so this hurts deep. And it's not far from where George Floyd was killed. And again, another cop, whatever you want to call it, killed someone on these streets, and that's not right.
That's not right. Absolutely not.
I'm sick of hearing about I'm an educator. I'm sick of hearing that children don't want to come to school. Their families don't want to send them to school because they're afraid ICE will take them away, or their kids will come home and there's nobody there because ICE took their parents away. I'm sick of hearing the stories. Wow. I'm sick of hearing that ICE is terrorizing my neighbors. ICE is killing my neighbors. This has got to stop. I'm beyond the thoughts and prayers. I'm enraged now.
when we are under attack, we better fight back. So, like I echo the sentiments of Noah that we need to come together, we need to organize, and we need to get ICE out of our city. That's all I gotta say. Thank you very much.
And I want to say, but we outside. But despite it all, when we were driving around, hell, if you were walking, and shout out to you bus riders, right? Shout out to transit. But when we looked at every corner in this city today, what did we see? Protests. We saw people with whistles.
I'm trying to get it for you. There we go.
We saw people giving notifications, checking license plates. We saw honking. We saw the whistling. We heard it. This city stood up and protected itself. It
murdered in cold blood today. Don't be confused by this administration. This for justice. We are organizing for political power. We understand that the police cannot be reformed. We understand that ICE cannot be reformed.
Hey, Lisa.
And we understand that we need democratic control over the Minneapolis police.
Yes. Renee Nicole Good,
we also demand
37.
that ICE agents leave our cities. We also demand the end to mass deportations. And we demand that the ICE agent who killed Renee Good today be prosecuted to the fullest extent. We demand full accountability and justice for Renee. Don't believe the lies. She was murdered in cold blood today.
Absolutely.
Don't be confused by this administration. Don't be confused by the lies. We have to see clearly, straight through those lies. And we have to keep on showing up in these streets. We have to keep on standing together. We are the only ones who keep us safe. So keep showing up. And don't just show up. Get organized. Join an organization. If you're not in an organization, join one. Because we need you in this fight. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Loretta Van Pelt. I'm also a member of Freedom Road Socialist Organization and a member of Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. My comrade said it best. I don't know what more to say other than all I know is I've been very emotional today about what happened. I've been a little emotional about what's been happening today. I live in South Minneapolis. I'm from South Minneapolis, so this hurts deep. Again, and it's not far from where George Floyd was killed. And again, another cop, whatever you want to call it, killed someone on these streets, and that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. I'm sick of hearing about. I'm an educator. I'm sick of hearing that children don't want to come to school. Their families don't want to send them to school because they're afraid ICE will take them away, or their kids will come home and there's nobody there because ICE took their parents away. I'm sick of hearing the stories. I'm sick of hearing that ICE is terrorizing my neighbors. ICE is killing my neighbors. This has got to stop. I'm beyond the thoughts and prayers. I'm enraged now. So when we are under attack, we better fight back. So, like I echo the sentiments of Noah that we need to come together. We need to organize, and we need to get ICE out of our city. That's all I gotta say. Thank you very much.
Good. Renee Good. This is Renee Good, y'all. 37 years old. Gunned down by ICE. Renee Good.
I'll do a call and response in Spanish, so just repeat after me. Aquí estamos. Y no nos vamos. Aquí estamos. Y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos. Aquí estamos. Y no nos vamos. This is what community looks like.
Let me move on, y'all. Bear with me. I need for y'all to double tap the face of the phone and get the likes up for me. Hit the like button, or if you're on your phone, double tap the face on your phone. See, he got a war in the Venezuela and what is this? Siberia? What's the other place? Protests erupt. Syria, and now in the U.S. Is it NBC? No, it's not what I'm looking for. Syria. All over the place. Oh man, it's in the dark. You can't see. You can't see their protest. The visual.
You have to understand that that is their play, so that he can bring forward martial law.
Yeah, he want martial law.
Shooting. Vehicles can be used as a weapon. So in this case, is that the case? Our governor also holding a news conference kind of outlining the state's response at this point, because he's concerned there might be some protesting that gets out of hand in the event that happens. They have state and local officers ready to react. And then at the local level, the mayor has called the President and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's narrative untrue. So you have a lot of people today who have already drawn a lot of conclusions, and that's all airing out publicly in real time.
What's happening right now is what we referenced earlier, and that is the gathering of hundreds of people in that area of 34th and Portland and Minneapolis. So you can see it there from the aerial view that has been growing steadily since about an hour or an hour and a half ago. Our So Young Kim is on site right now as we speak with more on that gathering there tonight, a vigil of sorts for the woman shot and killed today.
Yeah, Randy, Kelsey, behind me is Portland Avenue, and I'm standing almost right in between 33rd and 34th Street, and the crowd has now grown to more than half of the block. At one point, they were chanting Renee Good's name, and we got that confirmation from the Minneapolis City Council saying she was a resident here in Minneapolis. We know she was 37 years old, and there's a lot of community members out here mourning. They were, again, chanting her name. There's signs with butterflies that say remember, and what we know so far that's confirmed from Minneapolis police is the woman who was shot and killed here this morning was 37 years old. She had a gunshot wound to the head. There were at least multiple shots fired, and when she was taken to the Hennepin County Medical Center, she was pronounced dead. And right now, BCA, the FBI is investigating. The community out here mourning. They're also calling for accountability and justice. There's also, you can't see from this vantage point, but there's a growing memorial. People have been dropping off flowers. And again, a lot of people are, it's passionate. They're emotional out here. And you can kind of hear the chants behind me. The crowd really, people are still coming in. They were starting to march at one point, but there's a lot of speakers kind of in the middle of the crowd there, and it's part vigil, part rally, calling for accountability and justice, but also just remembering a life lost of another community member here in Minneapolis. We'll be out here tonight, keep you posted, but for now, I'll send it back to you.
All right, so thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot to be said, as you pointed out earlier, about these videos that are circulating around on social media, and what people see. They see it from their own perspective. Obviously, in the end, what matters is what law enforcement and the judicial system sees from those videos.
Yeah, so we want to talk with Karen Scullin, who's also been on scene for most of the day and was there as those ICE officials were trying to lead this too. So Karen, you've taken a look at the videos. You've seen them from many, many different angles. Talk us through just what your day has been like, number one, and then what those videos are showing.
Right, it's been a day for us for sure. I mean, just a lot of confrontation throughout the day between protesters, between ICE agents, especially as ICE agents were trying to leave the scene after the shooting. There were a lot of confrontations then. A lot of protesters would not let the ICE agents leave, whether it was down an alley or down the road. They were physically blocking the roads, arm in arm, that kind of thing, pounding on the cars and throwing things at the agents. In return, the agents did end up deploying mace or chemical spray into the crowd or into the people that were actually blocking the situation. It was very volatile at times, and that was happening pretty much throughout the day. But as you mentioned, it's going to be these videos that are everywhere. They are crucial into determining whether or not this shooting was justified. There are a lot because early on, there were ICE watchers out here very early this morning before the shooting. They were here and they were honking horns and blowing whistles, letting everybody know that ICE was in fact in the area. So you're talking about not only the watchers that have video, but also neighbors and residents who came to the windows, hearing the horns and the whistles, and started shooting video, capturing some of those very important moments when that gun went off. There are two different angles for the most part. There's behind the maroon SUV that the woman was driving, but there's also an angle from in front of that SUV, and they both kind of tell two different stories.
Please double tap the face of the screen. Let's look at this. Get the lights up.
ICE watchers and neighbors were recording as a confrontation between agents and a protester was quickly unfolding. Now let's take a closer look.
Slowly.
Watch as agents approach the driver. The 37-year-old woman begins backing up as one agent has his hand on the door handle of the vehicle and the other arm appears to be reaching inside through the car window. At the same time, there is an agent on the front left corner of that SUV. That is the agent who fires his gun. First, it appears to be through the windshield, the following two shots through the open window. But there is another angle from the front of the SUV. It is the angle President Donald Trump refers to on social media when he defends the ICE agent's actions.
In it, you see the agent on the front left corner of the SUV. And in the chaos, it does appear to show that agent being hit by that SUV. The agent then fires 3 times, reportedly hitting the woman in the face. The driver then crashes into 2 parked cars.
Yeah, but he hopped in front of it. Hold on.
We'll be out here tonight, keep you posted, but for now, I'll send it back to you.
All right, So Young, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot to be said, as you pointed out earlier, about these videos that are circulating around on social media. And what people see, they see it from their own perspective. Obviously, in the end, what matters is what law enforcement and the judicial system sees from those videos.
Yeah, so we want to talk with Karen Scullin, who's also been on scene for most of the day and was there as those ICE officials were trying to leave the scene too. So Karen, you've taken a look at the videos. You've seen them from many different angles.
Well, of course, yeah, because FBI is going to be the one investigating, and they are Trump.
Those videos are showing.
That's Trump. He said he runs the Department of Justice in the FBI.
Right, it's been a
That's why Dan,
just a lot of
what's his name? Bengino quit.
Between protesters, between ICE agents, especially as ICE agents were trying to leave the scene after the shooting. There were a lot of confrontations then. A lot of protesters would not let the ICE agents leave, whether it was down an alley or down the road. They were physically blocking the roads, arm in arm, that kind of thing, pounding on the cars and throwing things at the agents. In return, the agents did end up deploying mace or chemical spray into the crowd or into the people that were actually blocking the situation. It was very volatile at times, and that was happening pretty much throughout the day. But as you mentioned, it's going to be these videos that are everywhere. They are crucial into determining whether or not this shooting was justified.
It was not justified.
Early on,
she was not going at a high speed.
Early this morning, before the shooting, they were here and they were honking.
He could have shot out the tires.
Everybody know that ICE was in fact in the area. So you're talking about not only the watchers that
right now,
but also neighbors and residents who came to the windows, hearing the horns and the whistles, and started shooting video, capturing some of those very important moments when that gun went off. There are 2 different angles for the most part. There's behind the maroon SUV that the woman was driving, but there's also an angle from in front of that SUV, and they both kind of tell 2 different stories. ICE watchers and neighbors were recording as a confrontation between
agents how was he hurt?
And a protester was quickly
How was he hurt? He walking off.
Now let's take a closer look.
How's he fighting for his life?
As agents approach the driver, the 37-year-old woman begins backing up as one agent has his hand on the door handle of the vehicle and the other arm appears to be reaching inside through the car window. At the same time, there is an agent on the front left corner of that SUV. That is the agent who fires his gun. First, it appears to be through the windshield, the following 2 shots through the open window.
Wow.
But there is another angle from the front of the SUV. It is the angle President Donald Trump refers to on social media when he defends the ICE agent's actions. In it, you see the agent on the front left corner of the SUV. And in the chaos, it does appear to show that agent being hit by that SUV. The agent then fires 3 times, reportedly hitting the woman in the face. The driver then crashes into 2 parked cars. ICE is claiming self-defense that the woman was using her car as a weapon. A lot of protesters showed up shouting and screaming that the shooting was unjustified, blocking agents from leaving the scene. They were pounding on windows, throwing things at the agents. The situation played out several times. Eventually, chemical spray was deployed, which did help clear the way for ICE to exit. And it does seem that that is going to be the situation every time there's a confrontation and people move out of the way, that ICE agents or whoever's on scene there might deploy their chemical spray. We did get some of that spray. I can tell you it hurts a lot for a long time, especially if they have contact lenses. So just be aware of that if you're going to come out and protest at any of these sites and these situations. Right now, I can tell you people have been coming and going. We're just kind of a block away from 34th and Portland. There's a ton of people going, a ton of people coming as this situation, this vigil, and this, I think So Young also said it was kind of part rally, continues at this hour. It's unknown, though, how long it will last. Randy, Kelsey?
All right, Karen. All right, stay safe out there. I know that there's a bit of animosity to television news out there, so just be safe.
Yeah, and we know from the air, that aerial shot, that there are hundreds of people who have gathered in the area, and then you could hear the sound. There's the aerial shot behind So-Young Kim. So we are going to talk about the use of deadly force, the legalities behind that in just a moment as well.
Yeah, in the meantime, the latest sort of event that has occurred at about 5 o'clock, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem took to the podium. She actually, it was her second appearance. She did speak from Texas shortly after the incident and reiterated again here in Minneapolis the perspective from the federal government and from DHS's perspective, calling this a situation where a demonstrator used their vehicle as a weapon, which in her words clearly makes it acceptable for an officer to use deadly force to protect himself and anyone else around him, including other officers. She contends that's what happened there today. That's a different perspective, clearly, than state and local government and local law enforcement has as well.
And so we are going to talk just about the legalities around the use of deadly force when we come back. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with our continuing coverage.
Wow. Renee Nicole Good. It's the young lady who was gunned down today. Dang near executed. And for what? Wow. Wow, wow. Let me get to my other one before I go. Hold on. Y'all wanted this fool. I know y'all wasn't expecting all of this mayhem. I just know. But I don't know why. He went out foolish. He's still mad, y'all. Y'all do know that. It was a year ago yesterday. He turned a mob, the ICE. Now he just gave him a legitimate title. It's the same thing as the insurrection. Same thing. Let me see, where is this minus? Let's see. He just gave him a legal name. And we have to remember that he told him that he could do what he wants.
What you're seeing now are images from across Minneapolis as Americans take to the streets in protest against ICE and the Trump administration after what has been described as just daylight.
Watching to see authorities are responding to an ICE-involved shooting.
34th and Portland Avenue. Now we're walking along Portland Avenue toward East 33rd, and you're seeing people really trailing these law enforcement vehicles and throwing, again, snowballs and chunks of ice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty right-leaning, but seeing this is not what you need to do. It's not how to do it.
What you're seeing now are images from across Minneapolis as Americans take to the streets in protest against ICE and the Trump administration after what has been described as just daylight murder of an American citizen.
They don't care. They wanted them. Remember, Trump said, we don't want you here. He told that to the people in Minnesota.
In her vehicle, an initial agent approaches
Somalis.
the driver's side and just tries to yank open the door with no further details shared on why he felt this was necessary to start with. And what transpired was another ICE agent firing shots, subsequently killing him. Local authorities, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, rejected the federal government's immediate claim of self-defense and called the shooting instead reckless and unnecessary. And it's clear when you see the video footage online, these questions should be raised about whether the federal narrative spearheaded by the likes of Kristi Noem matches what we are seeing and on-the-ground evidence.
You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism.
What happened was our
is so
ICE
full of
officers were
crap.
out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them.
We know
with
that
her
that
vehicle.
didn't happen. We
An
know that
officer of
that
ours
did not
acted
happen.
quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information.
Please double
but this
tap the
goes
face
to
of your
show,
screen, get the likes
the
up.
assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day. These vehicle rammings are domestic acts of terrorism. We're working with the Department of Justice to prosecute them as such. We will continue to protect our ICE officers.
Yeah, I've seen the video several times as well, kind of gone through it frame by frame. I don't want to describe it because you can't see the entire scene play out. There's an area in front of the vehicle that is obscured by the vehicle itself, so we don't know 100% what happened during that incident. But what I saw, it does counteract the narrative that they were trying to push their car out of the snow.
Absolutely.
The ICE agents who were involved here, because
Just
that
lying.
vehicle was clearly in the middle of the street as it was approached by a couple of
And she had just let a car pass
before it sped off. So again, we'll wait until we get clearance to look at this video and have eyes that are more expert than mine take a look at it. But clearly there are very, very conflicting opinions of what happened. We have the one opinion from DHS, and then we have the other opinion from the mayor and local officials.
The president, of course, was on hand to fan the flames by making sweeping, unsubstantiated allegations regarding the victim. His immediate response was to say, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense." Now take that, right, what he just said, and then watch the clip again. Does any of that line up?
So unnecessary. And
drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates that blue parasite from the pancreas, regulates blood sugar levels, and reverses type 2 diabetes. This is the last time I'm sharing this here. Just a 15-second made-of trick forces your body to urinate out this disgusting creature and lower AOC in just a few hours.
Please double
9
tap
out
the
of 10
face on your
Americans
phone.
have type 2 diabetes, and less than one.
Get the likes up. 57.
I don't know. I hope. Maybe we're at their McCarthy moment. Do you have decency? Do you have no decency?
None.
We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever. And I don't want to be right about this, but I said if they do this, they're going to create a chaotic situation where someone innocent's going to get killed. And they did it. And now we hear more political rhetoric. Enough. Enough is enough. And so to Minnesotans, don't take the bait.
Don't
Do
take
not
the bait.
take the bait. Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law. Do not allow them to lie about the security and the decency of this state. And let's let this investigation play itself out.
And he went on to say the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of America safe. Did this American citizen feel safe? Now, I've said it before and I will say it again. This is not a leader. It's barely even a human being. Time and time again, when the opportunity presents itself for him to try and diffuse a situation akin to those he has terrorizing the streets of this country, he just further escalates it. But his point here was echoed by many in the MAGA contingent, claiming that the victim was either run over the agent or use her car as a weapon. Now, not only does video evidence and the direction of her tires before the officer actually shoots debunk that claim, Midas's own Ron Flipowski, well, he weighed in saying, quote, "I prosecuted and defended hundreds of cases where people were alleged to have used vehicles as deadly weapons against police. This is not that." Christy Noem claimed that the woman was attacking them
And that doesn't line up with what we're seeing on the video here.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. Somebody is dead. That's on you. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now. And justice is what we've all got to get. We're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants.
People are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights, but please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction.
We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice.
But what has transpired in the wake of this is an unfortunately all too familiar scene, not only in America, but in Minneapolis, where the people of that city, aggrieved by the gross overreach of law enforcement, take to the streets in protest. Some demonstrators were met with force as tensions escalated, which leads you to assume, right, this environment already volatile after years of federal local tension and painful memories of past police violence in Minneapolis is not going to be calmed by more force. But unfortunately, knowing the president, that is what will likely transpire.
Bob, I want to jump in here. I want to ask you, where you're at right now, and we're seeing the images on the screen. There's that flag you were talking about being burned here. What kind of things are they shouting, the crowd that's out there? I know they're obviously not happy ICE is there. They've been talking about that. What are they saying? What's the energy like where you are right now?
So that's one reason why I'm not getting too close, so I can hear all of you, because it is loud out here. It's profanities, a lot of profanities against ICE.
Breaking down what exactly you saw this morning.
Basically, ladies trying to warn everyone ICE is in the neighborhood. Just letting them know, hey, and telling ICE, hey, you're destroying families, whatnot. Stop doing this. Hey, get out of here. Stop that. She reversed so traffic can go by. The pickup truck.
So they got her because she was warning the people.
And was telling her, hey, well, didn't tell her anything really. Just telling her, I'm going to open up your door and I'm going to get you out. And that's when the shooting happened. And the car took off and then it sped off and crashed right into the cars.
About the agent that was stepped in front of the car.
The way he was in the clear. There was another one at the front part of the car on the driver's side. Then there's one right there by the door that's opening, trying to get in the door. Then you have one that's in front of the car that was already coming from the side. And he was just getting clear because he already see that, hey, this person could take off, but maybe I'll try to, intimidate you with my gun.
Hence why messaging from Governor Walz like this is so crucial, where he calls for nonviolent protest.
Back. Let me be clear. Donald Trump and his administration may not care much about Minnesota. That's been pretty evident. But we love this state. We won't let them tear us apart. We'll not turn against each other. To Minnesotans, I say this. I feel your anger. I'm angry. They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully as you always do. We can't give them what they want.
See, while communities nationwide are struggling with federal local tensions around public safety, immigration enforcement, and civil liberties being abused, the president, he continues to choose the most combative us versus them frame, which does nothing but cause more chaos, right? And he does it so that he can use it to be even more aggressive as he ramps up immigration enforcement, knowing full well that he can redirect the focus away from the countless areas that he's falling short on, away from his invasion of a sovereign state, risking American lives for more oil, away from the Epstein files, away from our ever so tanking economy. The president's insistence on framing protests as threats rather than civic expression is tactical because it only further intensifies polarization. The thing is, no amount of words can deflect from what our eyes can see quite clearly.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid.
This is absolutely crazy.
If you can't catch your breath and treatments aren't working, you have mucus plugs, dense blockages, suffocating your airways like...
And they're dead
no.
serious about this.
Hold on, before I go, I saw one. Minnesota. He said he was going to attack the blue states. Where's it at? There was something else going on. Hold on. I want to end on. Hold on. This is absolutely ridiculous. So he crossed the line with Russia. I don't know. Maybe. Hold on. While I'm trying to find this tea, I need for y'all to hit the like button. Please. Double tap the face on your phone. What you mean it wasn't meant? No more boots on the ground. Okay, y'all, this may be it for now. I thought I saw that they had... Yeah, I don't know where it's at. And I gotta get ready for my next live. Hold on. Who are you? No one was saved. What can... Oh my God. Just release the dang Epstein file so they can stop with the bull crap. Mega podcast who realized Trump played them. Oh, y'all just not realizing he played y'all? Let's end off on this one then.
At Raising Cane's,
if they just not realizing Trump played them.
Butter every Texas toast. Stir.
Do you think that on Venezuela, do you think that the attack on Venezuela and the capture of Maduro is just a means to distract from the Epstein files?
I don't think it's just that, but I think that is certainly part of it. The timing of it is
now he killing people in the U.S.
by an effort to distract people from Epstein files.
Got it. Thank you, Congressman.
He's desperate not to see the Epstein file go public, and they're in a full-blown cover-up.
Got it. Thank you, Congressman. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So that was Jamie Raskin talking with Midas Touch, and he was pretty much pointing out the obvious, that what we're seeing right now from the Trump administration is a blatant, full-blown cover-up of the Epstein files, and I think we need to keep our attention right here. I know we're going to be talking more and more about Venezuela and any other country that Donald Trump decides to invade next. We'll always talk about those things, but I think we need to understand that Donald Trump is wagging the dog right here, that he's doing anything he can to get people to look in the other way and changing the subject. And his Justice Department is absolutely going out of their way to delay and to stop and to pause and to hesitate. And if I was someone who really believed that there was a deep state, and I really believed that Donald Trump was going to drain the swamp, I would be really starting to lose my faith right now, and a lot of people are. I'm going to show you a couple of clips of Thomas Massey. Midas Touch also caught up with him, and I want to show you a couple of his clips. Then we'll talk more about how that Trump has just completely betrayed his base. But first, let's take a listen to Thomas Massey.
I mean, for the fact that these Epstein files still, there are millions of more documents that they're still reviewing at this point.
You know, if this were a private law firm with 5% of the resources of the DOJ, this would have been done by the deadline. And they just missed another deadline, which is the report to Congress, which is supposed to list all of the politicians that are in their files, and also they're supposed to justify all the redactions 15 days after the first 30-day window. But the biggest problem isn't that they're missing the deadlines, it's what they're redacting. So they're citing the Privacy Act, and they're trying to pretend like that overrides a law that we just passed that says you can't withhold records to prevent embarrassment. They're also citing FOIA standards, which don't apply to our law, when they're trying to say that they don't have to release internal decisions. But our bill specifically says release internal decisions.
So what are you going to do about it?
We're looking at that.
So they're missing the deadlines, and they're trying to justify these redactions. And Thomas Massey is asked why that they're doing such things. And again, it's really easy, folks, to point out the obvious here.
And even if they had met the deadline, they're avoiding that by citing laws and regulations that don't apply or have been obviated by this bill. So we'll see.
Why do you think that they're taking these steps to shield these documents from its release?
I mean, they've never wanted to release the documents, in spite of what the vice president said during the campaign and the attorney general even after she took office. I think they're still trying to protect rich billionaires, politically connected people, and I think they're also trying to obscure the involvement of our own intelligence agencies in this.
So yeah, folks, this is pretty blatant. They're trying to protect the billionaires, and it goes against everything that Donald Trump ever ran on, because he ran on releasing the files, and J.D. Vance went on Theo Vaughn and laughed about it and said, yeah, we definitely need to release the Epstein files, and now they're doing everything they can to walk those things back. And people like Theo Vaughn and comedian Dave Smith are starting to catch on to this and go, wait a minute, this is everything you promised us you were going to do. The ball is in your court. You're in complete control. Why ain't you just taking this layup? Why is this not as easy as you seem to make it on the campaign trail? They acted like this will be the easiest layup ever, but now there they are in the paint, and they're wide open, and they're not going for it. And I love this clip I found of Dave Smith talking with Theo Vaughn, because it's good to see when people finally starts waking up out of the fog.
Look at these photos. Everything redacted in them. These could be photos from anybody's phone. Everything redacted.
It's so dirty. It just stinks. How could you possibly piece this together that it's not some huge scandal? Right. Okay, so there's a guy convicted of soliciting prostitution from an underage girl. You know, a decade after he's convicted, or at least 8 years after, he's still in the most influential circles. And then for national security reasons, this has to be
still getting paid.
Like, what the hell? This just makes no sense. And his connections to Barack and Mossad now all being known, it's just too crazy. Covering up the Epstein thing the way he has like profoundly hurt him in a way that isn't even measurable on polls. His poll numbers are lower than they were, and I'm sure that's a big part of it. But there is something where, like, the fundamental animating spirit of Donald Trump's political existence, his central promise was drain the swamp.
Yeah.
You know, like the reason why people love Donald Trump is because everybody on some level knew DC is just corrupt as shit, and that they're screwing all the rest of us over, and they face no consequences for it. There's something about covering up the Epstein thing that it's like, oh, when it really came down to it, you didn't want to drain the swamp. Yeah. You wanted to protect them, and maybe because you're pretty close to it.
You know, I will agree. I have always thought that Washington, D.C. was corrupt as shit. But where I could have never jumped on board with MAGA is the racism would have been a deal breaker for me. The bigotry and the homophobia and transphobia and just the over-the-top cruelty would have always been a deal breaker for me. So I could have never ended up over there in that boat. But I could have found myself agreeing with someone like a Dave Smith or a Theo Von that the system was dirty and that the system was corrupt. I could absolutely believe that. It's just that I wouldn't have turned and put all my faith in Donald Trump because he was a con man from day one. So there's no way that I would have trusted him. That would be like, you know, if Jesse James told you that that the banks were corrupt and that he would be the one to get in there and fix it. You're like, well, yeah, dude, but you spent a lifetime robbing trains and robbing banks, so I'm really not going to take your word for it. That's how I feel about Donald Trump. But what we're seeing right here is MAGA fractured, and we're seeing people finally start to wake up and have these conversations. And I'm glad to see it. I'm not very familiar with Dave Smith's work at all. I don't know any of his comedy or really even what he does, other than I've just heard the things he's been saying lately about Trump. Theo Von is someone that I will admit I've found hilarious at times. He seems to me, if I'm just giving my honest opinion, and I don't know the guy from Adam, but underneath it all, he seems to be more good-hearted than a lot of the people in MAGA. I think he's just someone who, you know, went along with these things for whatever reason. Maybe he did think it was corrupt. Maybe he did think it was, you know, like a lot of us did. I'm saying we would have agreed on that. But I'm glad to see that they're finally starting to wake up. And J.D. Vance sat on Theo Von's podcast when Von said, hey, release the files. J.D. Vance sat and laughed and said, yeah, we need to release the files. And that has to go back through Theo Von's head as he sits there and looks at all the redactions that are taking place and then listens to Dave Smith pretty much just say what I would say if I had have ever bought into that story. That's what I would be saying. I would have never been MAGA because the racism would have been a deal breaker, but if I had have believed that there was a deep state and I believed that one person was going to expose it and they didn't, then that's exactly what I would be saying. I would be saying there's no way you can spin this. And folks, there's really not. If you're MAGA and you've hung in to this point in the video, y'all have completely dropped the ball and lost this one, okay? The game is over because Donald Trump is in complete control. He has the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court in his back pocket. He's got it all. This is an easy layup for him. Right here is the moment where he can crush every argument that I've ever made. Right here is the moment where he could crush every liberal and every progressive that you've ever known. He could absolutely come out and end it. This is the moment in the fight where it's like, hey, you should have went for the knockout, and it looks like you're throwing the fight. That's what Donald Trump is doing. Mm-hmm. If he really, truly had something on Democrats, do you honestly think he would hold it back? Do you honestly believe that he would be redacting Democrats' names? Do you believe it's Bill Clinton that he's redacting? No. It's so painfully, blatantly obvious that everyone on that side got duped and got played. And I'm glad to see some of them seeing through it. Hell, even the QAnon shaman, the buffoon that went to the Capitol with the horns on his head and painted his face. This was even a deal breaker for that moron. So a lot of them are starting to walk away and wake up because it's just so blatantly obvious. This truly is. Going back to the start of the video when Raskin said we're seeing a full-blown cover-up, we are. And it's obvious to anyone who could ever see through it. So hopefully more people will see through this, and hopefully more people will keep their attention on this one, because Donald Trump's wagging the dog with Venezuela and threatening Greenland, threatening Cuba, threatening everyone else. He's wagging the dog from this right here. This is what he don't want anyone talking about, and it's never been as obvious as it is. And so hopefully it will cause more people, it will cause enough people in his cult to wake up and walk away that we can get these midterms and get things turned back around. I hope so. But I have really not a whole lot of faith in 2026, especially the way we started it. I feel like it's going to be a bumpy ride. I know I say that a lot, not trying to freak you out or nothing, but buckle up and we'll get through this. And when it's over, I'm just not going to be able to sit around and laugh with people like Theo Von about it. I'm not going to be able to sit back and laugh. It's like, you all should have seen through this long before. Instead of sitting back calling us the enemy from within and saying we should be rooted out like vermin, maybe you should have stopped and paused and listened to what it was we were saying, because we pointed every bit of this out every step of the way. and got called libtards and got called snowflakes and got called every word in the book because we were pointing it out. So I'm really not trying to flex either. It's just the damn truth. We pointed it out every step of the way to them while they sat and sane washed it, and now they're sitting there, damn, yeah, you can't make it make sense. No, you can't. We was telling you that the whole damn time. Where were you?
Okay, y'all, but before I go, if there's anything about this whole ordeal we can kind of laugh about, let's just chuckle at this one. Let's go. I don't even know if it's music. Oh, I cut the music down. Okay, y'all, I'll be back later. Somebody had sent something yesterday that they had on 2 of the same Nike. Look at them. Oh my goodness. Let's go. Let's go. Shake that thing. Shake that thing. Ow, 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 ow. Ooh. He like, normally I thought he liked being in front. Okay, y'all, I'll be back with our girl. This shit. While I'm here, let me go to
What are you doing in a...
Hold on. Because somebody sent some last night. It made it look like they was... They called them actors. And you think this looked like them. Shoot. Wait till you see this one. Hold on. Y'all hit the like button for me. Double tap the face on your screen. Let me get back here where the good stuff is. Oh, there go him and Bubba. I guess I can move that one. Hold on. We done seen him on Bubba. What is this? I can't remember what that is. But let me get to the one. Oh, yeah, we got another one, y'all. Why I'm here. Why I'm here. Y'all know they start with that music. I hope this ain't real. Why he gotta mess with kids? And then these people liking on him and going along with his madness. I just don't get that. It wouldn't be shit he could say to me to make me like him, and he play with kids. I don't know what that is. Let me get to that, Oh, this one they had on the same.
Understanding the deep state is understanding that everybody involved is an actress or an actor with an IMBD resume. Very literally actors, an actress. Nicolas Maduro is very much so an actress. So now it is said that these people, like, they live in dirty houses and all the things. So while you guys think this is AI, the micro situations here allow me to think that this is real, okay? I don't think that that's AI at all. With that being said, did you guys know that Kathy O'Brien, the mind control slave from CIA survivor, wrote a book about how they would let mind control slaves do
this is them
drugs except for marijuana?
Now the other ones were not, but this right here, look at the little hands.
Patent it and then made it illegal in 1934. This is a transgender female posing as a working for the FBI.
Now we know how we talk about Trump's little hands when he on Bubba, on Bubba D. Y'all know, where's the picture? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those are his little hands. Look, come on.
Understanding the deep state is understanding that everybody involved is an actress, an actor.
This is not the one I want. Hold
resume. Very literally actors, I mean an actress.
I got another one. Yeah, no, this is little hands. Hold on. Those are the same little hands. Hold on. Those little pale hands. Let me get back to it. Got little hands. His hands is the smallest thing on his body, look like. Lord have mercy. Yeah. What I say, if ever we needed the Lord before. Lord, we sure do need you now. Is this one? Yeah. I think she did show it here though.
I was watching this fascinating video about this guy explaining how there's a 50-50 chance that we are in a simulation, that either we are the first people in the simulation to kick this thing off, or we're the last group of people in the simulation who have yet to make it to the next level.
Ladies, stop by and pose.
God forbid that we travel at the speed of light and get to the next galaxy before they
on a break
that
eating
one.
a donut.
And that, you know, it's like what you see is what you need to see. Do they need more Earth? Oh, we'll just put some more Earth over there. You know, like a game, like inside of a game, like we're inside.
They're saying he really ain't arrested.
To, you know, literally.
They in there making deals.
So, with that
playing in our face again.
I'd like to go over a few facts. So, I'm instead of just me proving all this stuff and giving you receipts all the time, when I say it, just go Google it if you are a government type of person that uses Google. Please Google, is illicit fentanyl outlawed in Venezuela? Yes. Is guns outlawed? Are guns outlawed in Venezuela? Yes. Are guns outlawed in Mexico? Yes. Is fentanyl, I can't talk. I ate too many gummies. Are guns outlawed in Mexico? Yes. So with that being said, then Google, is there a Scheduled 1 fentanyl as well as a Scheduled 2 fentanyl that you still get at the doctors? So then would that lead you to believe that the fentanyl is probably coming from the United States of America and this is a show that you're watching? Have you guys ever sold drugs a day in your life? Do you understand the concept of you do not tell your right hand what your left hand is doing ever in life? We don't know who's running anything. This is a female chromosome.
Oh, yeah.
Why would their faces be blocked out? Okay?
I don't need to get into the chromosomes.
Are you fucking serious, bro?
Let me get to that hand. The same uniform on.
Understanding the deep state is understanding that everybody involved is an actress or an actor with an IMBD resume. Very literally an actress. Maduro is very much so an actress. So now it is said that these people, like, they live in dirty houses and all the things. So while you guys think this is AI, the micro situations here allow me to think that this is real. Okay,
Same little hands.
That's AI at all.
That's on bubbles.
Do you guys know that Kathy O'Brien, the mind control slave from the CIA survivor, wrote a book about
y'all see the same little hands?
Mind control slaves do any kind of drugs except for marijuana because it's not conducive to mind control. Do you think that's why they tried to patent it and then made it illegal in 1934? This is a transgender female posing as a male working for the FBI.
So in other words, y'all, they playing in our face. In other words, they playing in our face.
When America tries to say this person, that person is a dictator, that person is a dictator, the first question you need to ask is, what is it that country has that America needs? That's the first question you need to ask them. America is the biggest oil junkie in the world. America owes so many countries money. It's insane. It's really insane. So whenever she's talking about other countries and saying these are send in agents through the CIA. They assassinate the leadership after they use the media in that country to turn the people against the leader of that country. Then it's called a coup. They assassinate the leader and they prop up someone who was a CIA agent who they had trained to be the new person to run for the leadership of that country, put him in place, and then they have free access to the wealth that they already were trying to get in the first place. This is called a coup. America's been doing it for a very long time. They have murdered and assassinated leaders all across the planet. America is a gangster, brother. I mean, a real one. They feel like money is their God. They'll say God with their mouth, but they'll show God with their money. God meaning G-O-D, gold, oil, and drugs. Okay? That's their God.
Oil and drugs.
Gold, oil, and drugs. That's their God. So when America tries to say this person, that person is a dictator, that person is a dictator, the question you need to ask is, what is it that that country has?
Their God is who?
That's the first question you need to ask them. America is the biggest oil junkie
Oh, it's in very
in the
low.
world. America owes so many countries money. It's insane. It's really insane. So whenever she's talking about other countries,
What is-
these are terrorists.
What is their
See,
God?
Go to another nation that didn't invite you. You try to have negotiations and tell them, listen, give us your oil, diamonds, etc. What
This is the young lady who lost her life
we don't want you
today.
to have that. You go to another one. And America says, oh, okay, cool. So America leaves. What do? They send in agents through the CIA. They assassinate the leadership.
Through the
after they
CIA.
use the media in that country to turn
Through
people
the
against
CIA.
of that country. Then it's called a coup. They assassinate the leader and they prop up someone who was a CIA agent who they had trained to be the new person to run for the leadership of that country, put him in place, and then they have free access to the wealth that they already were trying to get in the first place. This is called a coup. America's been doing it for a very long time. They have murdered and assassinated leaders all across the planet. America is a gangster, brother. I mean, a real one. They feel like money is their God. They'll say God with their mouth, but they'll show God with their money. God meaning G-O-D, gold, oil, and drugs. Okay? That's their God.
Heavy.
Gold, oil, and drugs. That's their God. So when America tries to say this
Okay, y'all. So I'll be back later with our girl. God, they God.
He has that American.
Y'all know I be saying, they need to say Jesus Christ. I need to hear them say God. Who they talking about? Who they, huh? I need to know. You understand? Because I ain't buying it. Y'all buying it? Y'all buying that foolishness? They say God, but what God? Who they talking about? G-O-D? Jesus Christ? Yeah. We don't know. They never named all diamonds. Is that what he said? Huh? Is that what he just said? Hold on. Let me see. Let me see before I go. Before I let go.
Michelle, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I actually spoke to Aiden earlier, and it's really hard to watch this, Nicole. It's hard on lots of levels, but I grew up in Minneapolis. I grew up 14 blocks south of where this happened. And so this is a major thoroughfare that runs north-south in Minneapolis. It's the road my parents took to and from work every day. And to know that people in that community are going to be processing this for a long time, there will be real and legitimate questions about DHS and the role that the ICE agents, the Border Patrol agents are playing in that community. One of the things that Aiden mentioned earlier speaks to the lack of coordination. When the ambulance arrived and the fire trucks arrived after this car crashed, the ICE vehicles, he told me, did not move. They were not able to get close to the vehicle. Apparently, she had to be pulled out of the vehicle and walk to the ambulance down on 33rd Street, half a block from where this happened, because the local vehicles couldn't even get through ICE. That speaks to the lack of coordination that the mayor, Jacob Fry, and that Governor Tim Walz has been talking about. All these people in this city, all these agents in this city, not working with local law enforcement, not coordinating with them, and people who live in the community feel like they're living under an occupation. Aiden said that he was called to the window because he heard the horns and the whistles. A lot of the people that are involved in doing this work and letting people know that ICE is in the community, it's interesting. I've heard that many of them are clerics, as you've seen, but some of them are retired lawyers. Some of them are people who are actually on the right who are Republicans who don't like the way that this is playing out in their city. And so they're trying to monitor ICE to make sure that they're actually following.
Michelle, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I actually spoke to Aiden earlier, and it's really hard to watch this, Nicole. It's hard on lots of levels, but I grew up in Minneapolis. I grew up 14 blocks south of where this happened. And so this is a major thoroughfare that runs north-south in Minneapolis. It's the road my parents took to and from work every day. And to know that people in that community are going to be processing this for a long time, there will be real and legitimate questions about DHS and the role that the ICE agents, the Border Patrol agents are playing in that community. One of the things that Aiden mentioned earlier is speaks to the lack of coordination. When the ambulance arrived and the fire trucks arrived after this car crashed, the ICE vehicles, he told me, did not move. They were not able to get close to the vehicle. Apparently, she had to be pulled out of the vehicle and walk to the ambulance down on 33rd Street, half a block from where this happened, because the local vehicles couldn't even get through ICE. That speaks to the lack of coordination that the Mayor Jacob Fry and that Governor Tim Walz has been talking about. All these people in this city, all these agents in this city, not working with local law enforcement, not coordinating with them, and people who live in the community feel like they're living under an occupation. Aiden said that he was called to the window because he heard the horns and the whistles. A lot of the people that are involved in doing this work and letting people know that ICE is in the community, it's interesting. I've heard that many of them are clerics, as you've seen, but some of them are retired lawyers. Some of them are people who are actually on the right, who are Republicans who don't like the way that this is playing out in their city. And so they're trying to monitor ICE to make sure that they're actually following.
They don't want to be monitored.
And I am betting that their numbers will grow because ICE has not slowed down what they're doing. There are 10 ICE vehicles that were at Roosevelt High School on the east side of the city this afternoon, at another school called Marcy, closer to the University of Minnesota, reportedly this afternoon. So instead of stopping what they're doing, they're continuing with what they're calling Metro Surge, and they're still making people in Minneapolis feel like they're living in an occupied space.
Michelle, I hadn't heard your reporting about an ambulance not able to get to the vehicle in which Renee Nicole Good was killed. Is there any reporting, anything else you can tell us about whether or not that could have made any difference in her losing her life today?
I'm going to be very careful about that. That's something that I was told by people who lived on the street and witnessed this, that when the ambulance and the fire truck came, that they were not able to get through this when he described the ICE vehicles that were parked on the street. So I don't know if it would make a difference. I was not there on the ground. I was told that by residents who lived there in that block along 34th and Portland.
Seems like added trauma for those residents. Jacob Soboroff, this has a lot of echoes to what you brought us from the other cities where you've reported on ICE agents. Notable to me that among the ICE and the CBP jackets, I think I saw FBI Violent Crime Task Force jackets. The New York Times is reporting today about how depleted the FBI's workforce is. And you saw there at least an individual wearing a jacket from the FBI Violent Crime Task Force today. What do you make of this block in this city and this ICE operation?
Well, it just actually calls to mind the first report I did for you from Charlotte when I was there on that day, where they were bringing actually detained protesters to the FBI building in Charlotte after picking them up after they allegedly interfered with law enforcement operations, smashed a window, pulled one of these ice washers out of a vehicle in North Carolina. So I hadn't thought about it until just now, but this is a scene, some version of this scene, even I have seen play out on the streets of the United States myself. I thought Alex's report in your conversation with him as well at the top of this hour raised some really good questions. So I just, in full transparency to our viewers, texted Tricia McLaughlin, the spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, and asked some of those questions myself. Is the agent still on duty who fired this weapon from in front of that vehicle? Who were the agents involved in the use of force? Where were they from? Like, where in the United States were they from? Are they from Minneapolis? Are they local agents? When did they get there? Were they Border Patrol agents?
It was targets.
Were they HSI? We don't know because they don't wear these things clearly marked on their vests. It's part of the reason it's so intimidating to people on the streets. It's part of the reason people like Renee Nicole Good go out in the first place, to warn their neighbors about unknown law enforcement officers from who knows where in the country, rolling up on your block in Minneapolis to conduct, I guess, ostensibly the largest mass deportation effort in American history.
Oh,
what
wow.
Was the quote-unquote targeted enforcement operation that was happening on this street? Was there someone, a so-called worst of the worst criminal that they were going after? And if so, who was it? All of these questions haven't been answered yet, but we have been told that Renee Nicole Good was allegedly, paraphrasing, potentially a domestic terrorist.
No.
Eddie.
You know, I'm just
if she was a domestic terrorist, one thing is for sure, she wouldn't have been out warning people in the car. If she was a domestic terrorist, she'd have been in the bushes somewhere unloading, right? Domestic terrorists don't warn people. They take action. Who they playing with? Who they think they lying to? That's not a domestic terrorist. Is it a protester? Is it neighborhood watch? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Get on the horn. They hear. But domestic terrorists? Oh, no. Where the gun? Where the dynamite? I mean, where all that type of stuff at? Quit lying to people. But somebody's gonna repeat it. Somebody that's drunk on that Kool-Aid, not Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid, gonna repeat that stupid shit. And I'm gonna serve their ass. I'm gonna tell you that now. I'm gonna serve them. Let's go.
So much death.
So much death.
So much ugliness.
So much hate.
We're
hey, Craig.
7 days into 2026.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about the U.S. and Venezuela, talking about so much death. So
much death.
And one wonders, what are the moral resources we have as a nation to get to the other side of this? Because what I do know is that ICE, with the one big beautiful bill, will become the largest federal law enforcement.
It'll be KKK all over again.
We do know that $100 million will be invested in a recruitment surge, and they're targeting gun shows and military fans as they expand ICE. And so I'm just sitting here trying to wrap my mind around, what does Imago Dei mean? Being in the image of God.
Oh.
What does that mean in real terms, in concrete terms? And I'm trying to figure out, how does one answer the question, where is God? In relation to the other question that woman asked as she witnessed what she witnessed: what have you done? What the F have you done? And so I'm just kind of sitting in the muck and trying to figure out, as you guys do, have you done? And so I'm just kind of sitting in that woman asked as she witnessed what she witnessed: what have you done? What the F have you done? And so I'm just kind of relation to the other question that woman asked as she witnessed what she witnessed: what have you done? What the F have you done? And so I'm just kind of sitting in the muck and trying to figure out, as you guys do the reporting and we talk about the politics,
what have you done? Oh my God.
With all of this? Because it's affecting the soul of each of us, it seems to me.
It has went somewhere.
Yeah, and I think
telling you, it's went somewhere it's never been before.
They'd have already
Not
won.
in our time.
If it loses its ability to affect us, if we don't go home thinking, did Renee Nicole Good have plans for later in the day? Did you think she'd be home? We don't know about her family, but did she have any idea that by driving down the street and doing whatever she did to try to warn the people that live there, Aiden said it was a largely immigrant community, that she wouldn't come home alive?
You talked earlier.
if it loses its ability to affect us, if we don't go home thinking, did Renee Nicole Good have plans for later in the day? Did you think she'd be home? We don't know about her family, but did she have any idea that by driving down the street and doing whatever she did to try to warn the people that lived there, Aiden said it was a largely immigrant community, that she wouldn't come home alive?
You talked earlier about, and the professor's remarks make me think of your idea of rehumanization. And as we learn about who Renee Nicole Good was, thinking about what she was out there, according to her mother, to do reminds me of the other people that we've talked about over the last many months since this second Trump administration has come into office. Alejandro Barranco, the landscaper, who was taken as he cut bushes in Santa Ana, and his 3 Marine Corps sons were outraged. One of them said if he had done that, what those agents did to their father in the Marine Corps, they would have been tried for a war crime. It would have been tried for a war crime. I'm thinking about Nori Santai Ramos, who was picked up from the Miguel Contreras Learning Complex, not from school, but from going to the immigration check-in with her mother, Estella, who died once they got to Guatemala because allegedly the ICE agents took her medication away when she was detained before they deported her. Ani Lucia Lopez Beloza, who was coming back from Babson to go visit her mom and dad in Texas on Thanksgiving break, but then was picked up and deported to Honduras. Or Maricela, the mother we talked about in the last hour, on the street in Chicago, who just wanted to make a stew for her daughter and was taken by agents that looked just like the ones in the video that we saw today. And so when we talk about the humanity behind all of this, there are human beings on the streets like Renee Nicole Good because of people like those people that I just named, and the decency and the compassion and the care for our fellow humans to look out for one another, and the realization that at the end of the day, and this is the journalist in me saying this, it's not the worst of the worst. It's not even close.
Hey, y'all, I've been in here almost 3 hours. Can I get y'all to double tap the face of your phone if you're listening in on your phone device? It's just 2 taps. It don't cost you nothing. Free of charge. It's just saying thank you for taking the time out. Can y'all double tap if you're on your phone listening in? And if you happen to be on your computer, there's 3 dots at the top right, or there's a thumbs up in front of your screen, hopefully. If y'all can tap that, I would greatly appreciate it. Go ahead. I'll wait. I greatly appreciate you appreciating me and my time. 2 hours and 47 minutes. Just real quick, bam, bam, on the face of your phone device. If that's how you are listening in, if you're on your computer, and up there by the comments of the chat, it's like 3 dots. If you can hit those 3 dots, it will take you there. I'll take you there. It'll take you there. Let's go.
Close to the worst of the worst that this administration is going after. It's what they promised. It's what they said they were going to do.
They are
there was never a way that
swap.
this was going to be the plan, and we knew it from the day they held up those signs at the convention that said mass deportation. Now this was always going to be the consequence. And it turns out it's not just family separation of immigrant communities. Now it's family separation of families like ICE watchers, like Renee Nicole Good, who are out there. They will never have their daughter again. Family separation of
and they don't know where she's at.
This administration for people
That's
that's
the hurtful. You don't know who has her.
Her mother says.
Oh wow, what they doing to her? Oh wow, it's just awful, y'all. I'll be back later with our girl. Probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Let me get some juice on my phone. All right. I really appreciate y'all. I wish we could have met on better terms every day. Every day. It's a fight for people to stay alive with this administration. He want to be a dictator. He don't like following rules. He's above the law. He thinks he is above the law. Where y'all find? Well, I ain't gonna say where we find him from, but where did you find the heart to keep him in office? What made any of us think that he was the best choice, the best fit for our country? after he pulled the stunt
Join Genesis
on the
$0
January 6th.
Plus get
What
$400
was
worth of
our problem?
training.
What were we thinking that he was
Breaking
going to do
coverage
better?
in Minneapolis, where an American citizen was shot to death, killed by an ICE agent. And the circumstances are not favorable for the Trump administration and its aggressive policies here. We'll go through the evidence we have. We also may learn more this hour from the United States government about its ongoing response. But
End of civilization.
the story exploded as soon as it happened, and there is all of this additional video. There also immediately were claims, which I can report based on the evidence we have, appeared to be false from the government, even amidst this unfolding
Lie. This lie.
So to begin with the video evidence that we have, I'm going to play what is a disturbing video of the shooting. It is graphic. That is,
And
of
the
course,
car
a very
just
clear
smoking.
angle on what was a very fast escalation.
Car
And
just
now-
smoking. He called her a career agitator. She was a career agitator. Oh, hit those cars.
That is, of course, a very...
Trump called her a career agitator.
That is, of course, a very clear angle on what was a very fast escalation.
This
And
don't
now-
make no sense. It just don't make no sense. So she had just let a car through. So they stopped. Shot straight in and then twice with the window down.
That is, of course, a very clear angle on what was a very fast escalation. And now, because the actual conduct of the agents is in question
You're welcome,
tonight,
Denise.
indeed, as we will discuss, Minnesota authorities are looking into an investigation of whether
This
the ICE
is
agents
crazy.
broke the law in what was ultimately the killing of that citizen. So we're going to slow this down. You can see the ICE agents
She's a U.S.
approach this car
citizen.
on foot. An agent appears to try to open the driver's side door. You can see that vehicle in some motion, and you can see where the agents
shot
are
her.
positioned. The vehicle,
Point
as you see,
blank.
appears to be trying to drive basically down the road. And we can debate the word choice, but ultimately it looks like driving away or an escape. You see it back up and then go off and to the right around that other vehicle. The agent fires 3 shots into the car. That is, at a minimum, before we get to a criminal law analysis, that is not considered proper use of force.
One straight through the windshield. Right? And then as she cuts and turns,
In policing,
her window was down. Here he goes again. What danger is he in right here? What danger is he in right here? Cause right here with her window down, he shoots twice in her head.
because based on what you have in this situation,
now who's in the hospital? Who's in danger? Where were they getting the? Okay, right there. She let a car pass. She let a car pass. Police was out here already. She let a car pass. Where were they getting the car out of that was stuck in the snow? I can't stand when they lie. So they were in somebody. I guess this was that other police just pulled them out their car. She let somebody through, I guess, and then they came and
apparent lethal threat to the officers.
Right there. She let somebody out. She let somebody pass. So there was a, is this the guy that came around, I guess? I don't know. But she let somebody pass. So all of that, those lies, they was trying to get somebody out that was stuck. I don't know what they talking about. She let somebody pass, and then they're gonna pull up right here, yanking on her car door.
Indeed, while it's a chaotic
Okay, so she has let them pass.
situation, it looks like
and then they pull up in the truck, Titan, right here. So they just pulled up. Do she know who they are? Okay.
Someone trying to effectively drive away. Now, as always, when we cover these type of stories, whether they involve domestic policing, local police, or in this case, federal agents operating under Donald Trump's much more aggressive approach to it.
He came around. So remember, he was right here with that. He was right there with them. Hold on. So this is the cop who shot and killed. That was with this person right here. I'm assuming in this car. So this, as this was like this, and she let this car pass. He was right here with this vehicle. The Titan truck is about to pull up.
Yes, indeed.
Now he's beginning to move forward.
While it's a chaotic situation.
Okay, we saw him move forward. Here they come. Pull up and get out.
It looks like someone trying to effectively drive away. Now, as always, when we cover these type of stories, whether they involve domestic policing, local.
Okay, so he's no longer there. So that's who walked around for where they were right here. He comes up yanking.
Police, or in this case, federal agents operating under Donald.
Okay, so there go that guy. The other cop, he just walked around. He's right here. She's still cutting her tires. Let's focus on the tires. Y'all, please double tap the face of the phone. Get the lights up. Let's focus on her tires, and let's see if we can see where his feet. Not his feet, but the other guy's feet. I'm going to see if we can catch it.
Trump's.
Now, I don't know if she's still cutting or if her tires, if she's just going to turn and go right here. Do he look like he's in danger?
Much more aggressive.
Yeah, it may, if he hadn't have moved, it could have, because there goes his foot right here. But was he in danger if all he had to do is move back?
Approach.
Like he did. Like he did, right? So why is he, so right now, right fucking now, he's out of the way. There's no immediate danger because she's going forward. Why did he shoot twice in the car?
To immigration enforcement.
He shot twice. At this point, it's a fleeting vehicle, right? Why he shoot twice? She's a fleeting vehicle. I thought they said that you can't shoot a fleeing vehicle. He was not in danger. They need to arrest him now. Wow.
Agents operating under Donald Trump's much more aggressive
her.
Aggressive approach to immigration enforcement.
3 times.
We have to remind everyone we do not know what happened.
They don't want us to hear the shots. They don't want us to hear the shots anymore pertaining to the moving vehicle.
Didactically.
So
I say that
what?
quite seriously. I've seen these.
What police officer was injured?
Or the other. I also want to mention authorities confirmed the victim was this 37-year-old woman, and she died from that gunshot wound.
Oh, I didn't hear nothing what he said.
While it's a chaotic situation, it looks like someone trying to effectively drive away. Now, as always, when we cover these type of stories, whether they involve domestic policing, local police, or in this case, federal agents operating under Donald Trump's much more aggressive approach to immigration enforcement, we have to remind everyone we do not know what happened before this available video. There are things that we could learn that might change the context here, and I don't say that didactically. I say that quite seriously. I've seen these type of stories evolve one way or the other. I also want to mention authorities confirmed the victim was this 37-year-old woman.
Off lucky if he only goes to prison.
Wound to the head. According to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, her mother has identified her as Renee Nicole Good and said she lived in the Twin Cities. So as we try to do with a story like this, you have now seen the video more than once. As I mentioned, it can be disturbing, especially once you know you're watching something that results in a shot to the head. But it's very important because the Trump administration's officials immediately made statements about this that basically conflict with what we can see with our own eyes on the video.
Absolutely.
And that is true, but their statements seemed off from what is questionable behavior by the ICE agent for what we know now. Before we get into more information,
they lied.
This incident, the very swift killing of an American citizen by an ICE agent operating under the authority of the Trump administration, will surely be investigated.
He gave them permission to kill.
More. I want to now show you what the local official said on the beat here. Mayor Jacob Frey was very clear in immediately responding with a message for ICE using strong language.
Hollywood is a place where are sacrificed.
Oh yeah, the secret society. Oh hell yeah.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Tempers high. The Trump administration has said it was deploying 2,000 ICE agents to the city, and it has sort of promoted it, or at least touted it, as the, quote, largest federal immigration enforcement operation ever carried out. The first day of the operation has resulted in the death of this woman. Now, ICE released a statement that said the officer was acting in self-defense. I will read you what they say here. One of these violent rioters, that's how they're describing the individual in the vehicle, weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. Now, when you watch the video, you can see for yourself what actually unfolded. So, whether the ICE agent had any reason to consider the individual in the car a, quote, violent rioter is not supported by what...
Where's the riot?
And then you can see the agent firing the shot is over to the left. That's not to minimize the fact that these situations can escalate and the agents could have faced some sort of threat. But the video that we have does not match on its face the claims by the Trump ICE spokespeople. Mayor Frey and Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara were also quite clear on the facts in rejecting the ICE claim today.
What I can tell you is the narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. That is not true. It has no truth. And it needs to be stated very clearly, since we have already seen a video of it. I do not know as to what you're talking about.
In any professional law enforcement agency in the country, I think they would tell you it's obviously very concerning whenever there's a shooting into a vehicle of someone who's not armed.
The individual being unarmed is an important detail, because the standard of force under American law is that there has to be the threat of a lethal attack or grievous bodily injury for law enforcement to use deadly force. They have other levels of force, of course, and there are other things that can be done, but firing on an individual, in this case, what the agent may have seen, a woman in a car, does require that predicate. It may be that the ICE spokespeople felt that knowing that, they would just claim it, because absent that type of legal defense, you are immediately in the territory of a question of whether this should be investigated and anyone should be charged inside the government. But what is the killing of this citizen? State officials also tell us they're investigating the shooting with the FBI, doing that as well. The mayor says people in the city of Minneapolis can be outraged, they can grieve, but he is insisting and urging everyone to do so peacefully. There's also a vigil planned for this evening. Reverend Al Sharpton is standing by and will join me as part of our coverage tonight. While we begin, Mark Jackson, retired NYPD detective, director of the Black Law Enforcement Alliance, an individual we called on before in cases where, of course, law enforcement, which includes ICE, have a job to do and they face threats, and we understand that. But there are also the rights of citizens, and you've sort of walked that line between both of those obligations. First, your view of what the video shows.
This is where I talk about what I liked in my first box. If I hadn't already been using them since the beginning of the year.
Well, Ari, the temptation for an old beat cop like myself is to engage in some analysis on a tactical level about what we saw from the police officers on the street and how perhaps bad tactics may have contributed to what caused the death of
just
this
walked
young lady.
up and started shooting.
But that would be just a mistake to do. I think we
had
have
no
to
idea
really
what was going
examine
on.
the level of threat.
She looking at the two guys, the guy that's pulling on her door.
Is faced with based on this ill-conceived kind of practice and policy. So not only do you have the civilian population placed at that additional risk, but you have law enforcement also negatively impacted by terrible, awful policies. And then you have this schism between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. And you have federal law enforcement putting a patch over their agent patch on their vests and claiming to be police, which kind of connotes for people that these are street cops familiar with local practices, and that is far from the case. These are street cops familiar with thugs. Putting a patch over their agent patch on their vests and claiming to be police, which kind of connotes for people that these are street cops familiar with local practice. Public is faced with based on this ill-conceived kind of practice and policy. So not only do you have the civilian population placed at that additional risk, but you have law enforcement also negatively impacted by terrible, awful policies. And then you have this schism between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. You have federal law enforcement, putting a patch over their agent patch on their vests.
Condolences to the young lady. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is just horrible.
And claiming to be police, which kind of connotes for people that these are street cops familiar with local practices, and that is far from the case. here. So it's very troubling, very disturbing. No one, I don't think anyone is surprised. I think there was some expectation that there would be some disastrous outcomes as a result of this immigration policy, I guess you want to call it. And there should be significant concern about the use of these federal agents operating in local communities as quote unquote police officers, and what that does to the reputation of law enforcement specifically.
Yeah, we talked about understanding what's happened there based on the evidence we have. I also want to play video taken here from a bystander, a witness account. Take a look.
Hey, everybody.
Basically, ladies trying to warn everyone ICE is in the neighborhood. Just letting them know, hey, and telling ICE, hey, you're destroying families, whatnot.
This is why she got killed.
Stop doing this. Hey, get out of here. Stop that. She reversed so traffic can go by. The pickup truck, gray pickup truck, officer ICE got out and was telling her, hey, well, didn't tell her anything, really, just telling her what, I'm going to open up your door and I'm going to get you out. And that's when the shooting happened, and the car took off, and then it sped off and crashed right into the cars.
Mark?
Hey, Big L.
Just terrible. Just bad all around. And I think that is a precursor for more tragedy if we don't change the direction of this.
And he gonna say, I told y'all I was going to get the streets clean. I told them I didn't want them here anymore.
Guest, our thanks to Mark Claxton. We had the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison.
He's just gonna remind the people what he told them. Oh wow, I went too far. I'm sorry. This is a dirty dog shame.
Ladies trying to warn everyone ICE is in the neighborhood. Just letting them know, hey, and telling ICE, hey, you're destroying families, whatnot. Stop doing this. Hey, get out of here. Stop that. She reversed so traffic can go by.
She let traffic go by.
Officer ICE got out and was telling her, hey, well, didn't tell her anything, really, just telling her what, I'm going to open up your door and I'm going to get you out. And that's when the shooting happened, and the car took off, and then it sped off and crashed right into the cars.
Mark?
Just terrible. Just bad all around. And I think
no words.
Is a precursor for more tragedy if we don't change the direction of this particular enforcement method.
Understood. And I appreciate you joining us as our first expert guest. Our thanks to Mark Claxton. We had the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, able to join us on a very busy and difficult evening there. Your response to these events today, and will the state investigate?
I could say this is a tragically foreseeable incident, because when you escalate the number of ICE agents that Trump has done, when you recruit them, when you train them, when you signal to them that they don't have to operate under the normal rules by disclosing their identity, you let them wear masks, you do all these kind of things, you are going to have tragic incidents like this. It is foreseeable, and it should.
Oh, it is foreseeable. Okay, y'all, I'll be back later. I will be back. Release the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files, and you won't have to create these tragic situations to change the narrative. Just release the dang Epstein files. Because it ain't going nowhere. We are not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Release the Epstein files. Point blank, period. Release the damn Epstein files.